Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order. It's 1 o'clock. The proceedings of this meeting will be recorded and made available on the internet. We'll move on to item 1.2 of our agenda, which is roll call. And I ask our clerk, Jesse Clark, please conduct the roll.
Thank you. Mayor Lamsted, are you present?
I am present.
Deputy Mayor Armstrong?
Present.
Councillor Franzen?
Present.
Councillor Braybrook?
Present.
Councillor Cadigan?
Present.
For staff, we have Donna Taggart, CIO Treasurer.
Present.
Steve Brockbank, Director of Emergency Services. He's on the line. Evan Grieger, Director of Public Works.
Present.
Adele Arbor, Planner.
Present.
Bianca Dragicevic, Deputy Clerk.
Present.
And Jesse Clark, Director of Corporate Services, Clerk is present. And Dylan just walked in.
Okay. Thank you very much. We can move on now to item 1.3 of our agenda, which is land acknowledgement and moment of reflection. We respectfully acknowledge that Trent Lakes in Peterborough County are located on the Treaty 20 Mississauga territory and in the traditional territory of the Mississauga and Chippewa nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaty First Nation, which include Curve Lake, Hiawatha, Halderville, Scugog Island, Rama, Beausoleil, and Georgina Island First Nation. Trent Lakes respectfully acknowledges that the Williams Treaty First Nations are the stewards and caretakers of these lands and waters in perpetuity, and that they continue to maintain this responsibility to ensure their health and integrity for generations to come. We will now take a moment to reflect on these principles and our duties and responsibilities as members of council. Okay, thank you. We can move on now to item 2 of our agenda, which is the approval of the agenda as circulated. And I will entertain a motion for same. So Councillor Cadigan for a mover, Councillor Franzen for a seconder. Any conversation about the agenda? I'm seeing none. I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. We can move on to item 3 of the agenda, which is disclosure of pecuniary interest. If any one member of council has a pecuniary interest on an item on the agenda, please disclose it now or anytime during the meeting prior to discussing anything on the item you have an interest in. Seeing no hands, we can move on to the item 4 of the agenda, which is adoption of the minutes. We have several minutes on the agenda. If anyone would like to speak to one of the items, or we can receive them all at the same time. Councillor Braber, go ahead.
I'll make a motion to receive all 5.
Okay, do I have a seconder for that motion? Deputy Mayor Armstrong for a seconder. Any conversation about the minutes? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. We can move on now to item 5 of our agenda, which is committees and boards. And item 5.1 is Deputy Mayor Armstrong. Would you like to speak to this item, please?
I would. Thank you, Mayor Lamsted. I'm going to move over there so I can change roles and hats. Do my presentation.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead at your leisure.
Thank you. Good afternoon, council and members of the public. I'm going to be presenting one of the work projects from the Environmental Advisory Committee, which is a summary of the lakes in our municipality. Do I get to move these or just? Yeah. Okay. I'll just sort of nod at you. Why do this? Well, it's important to understand why we did this in the first place. First, we wanted to provide a resource to assist our staff with land use planning. So zoning applications, zoning bylaws, planning applications, etc. Secondly, since lakes and rivers are one of our most important assets, we want to know how healthy they are. And thirdly, even though the municipality is not directly involved in managing or monitoring water quality, we do have a stewardship role to play in making sure that they are protected for generations to come after ours. So let me cover the following. First, an inventory of the lakes, then their physical features. We'll dive into the quality of the water in our lakes, and then what do we do with all of this, or next steps. This is a list of 45 lakes in the municipality of Trent Lakes. These are the ones that are named in GIS and county maps. There are more, but smaller ones. The ones in yellow have a cottage association that we are aware of. The others may, but through correspondence with the associations, et cetera, we're not certain that they do have a cottage association. And that really means that there are groups that are monitoring and managing the water in their lakes. Thanks to our clerk, oh, that's very small. Can we blow it up a little bit and show half of it, maybe? Or not. Anyway, suffice to say that the lakes are scattered all over our municipality, up in the north primarily, and then of course down along the southern border. Yeah, they're still not showing. Okay, that's fine. Trust me that they're scattered all over. Let's focus on some of the physical features of the lakes that we have. To begin with, we are part of the Trent Severn Waterway. You'll notice that Lovesick Lake, Lower Buckhorn, and Pigeon Lake are canal lakes on the Trent Severn, which means that they are navigable portions of the waterway. There's boat traffic that goes through there. Then Crystal Lake, White Lake, and the Mississauga chain of lakes are what we call reservoir lakes, which means that they feed into and supply water for the system. They are dammed, and those dams are controlled by Parks Canada to manage both navigation levels as well as to allow for appropriate spawning grounds for fish, mostly lake trout. So when we hear from residents about fluctuating water levels, their docks are now on beaches instead of water, et cetera, one of the main reasons for that is the water level management through Parks Canada. Next, if you look at the size of the lakes, this is really just intended to show you the difference in sizes of lakes. So there are probably 3 really big lakes in our municipality, spread into other municipalities, and those are Pigeon, Buckhorn, and Lower Buckhorn. Let me just tell you the hectares. For most of you, you probably know a hectare is about 2.5 acres. So that gives you an idea of the size of these lakes. So 3 very, very big lakes, then a number that are a little bit smaller, and then they dwindle down in size to very small lakes, many of which have nobody living on them. If you look at the number of lots per lake, and this really correlates with the size of them primarily, Pigeon Lake has over 1,200 lots on it, very big lake. Tacoma, Crystal have more than 400 apiece. And then you get down to Mississauga, Big Bald, Little Baldwin, the Nokies Creek area, each of which has about 200 or more lots on them. And then it sizes down from there. And just to note, this really doesn't represent the density on a lake because the lots are of varying sizes. To some extent, based on the years or the time in which the lake was developed and subdivisions or lots were created. So those are the physical features. If we look at the water quality, I want to talk a little bit about specifics related to that. So first, we have a chart, a really good chart, I think, done by Trent Aquatics Research Program over at Trent University under Dr. Paul Frost. I won't go into all of the detail, but it's clear that there are many, many pressures on the health of our lakes and the ecosystems, starting with climate change, invasive species, shoreline development and population growth, contaminants, and nutrient pollution. And I think it's important to point out that municipal policies and programs can have a very large impact on all of these, particularly shoreline development, population growth, to some extent nutrient pollution when you think about our septic programs and so forth. So we do have a role to play in maintaining the health of our lakes. The Ministry of the Environment at one time studied lakes in our area, and based on a number of factors determined that some of them were at risk for deteriorating health if they were to be developed too much or too densely. And most of those, it's noted at the time, were productive or may still be productive lake trout lakes. In our official plan, both our old one and our new one, which is under review at the moment, there are 8 lakes that are determined to be at capacity. So Fortescue, Salmon, Pencil, Bottle, Cavendish, Beaver, Ascension are all considered at capacity and are restricted to any further development beyond the lots that are already on those. There are another further 3 lakes, Gatchacoma, Golden, Mississauga, which are designated as limited capacity. So they have restrictions again around additional development or site alteration. And you may remember, some of you, that when we had the discussion around additional residential units, this came into play and we excluded these areas from additional residential units to avoid putting additional pressure on the lakes. And finally, there are 4 other lakes that have been the subject of special studies and have had unique policies regarding development on those. And that's Picard, White, Birch Bark, and Pigeon. Then we go to septic inspections, and I referenced that earlier. Trent Lakes has been a leader in doing discretionary septic system inspections back to 2016. It was done through Peterborough Public Health. As you know, we've now taken that in-house. With the help of the planning assistant, we looked to see where these had taken place in the past. And it would appear, although the data is not entirely comprehensive, that there are a number of waterfront areas where we have not done discretionary septic inspections. And those being the most vulnerable in our municipality. When we restart that program, we tend to, or recommend, that we look at those areas and try and focus the inspections there. Moving to water quality testing, there are 4 associations in our area that assist or track water quality. And those are the Love Your Lake program, which is a Watersheds Canada program, Lake Partner program, which is a partnership between FOCA and the Ministry of the Environment, Climate and Parks, Trent Aquatic Research Project, talked about earlier, and the Kawartha Lake Stewards Association, a volunteer not-for-profit community science organization. This chart shows you first the number of lakes participating in each of those programs. So that's where you see 13, for example, that participated in Love Your Lake. And it also shows the parameters that are included in each one of those testing programs. Let's start with one of the most important areas that's tested and of concern, and that's phosphorus. So phosphorus is a necessary nutrient lake, but it can lead, if there's too much of it, to excessive plant growth, and in the worst case, blue-green algae blooms, which make a lake very dangerous for recreational activities and water usage. And we can expect that real estate values will actually plummet if we have blue-green algae in any one of our lakes. So it's a serious problem. In terms of where our lakes are on that, fortunately, none of them are above the danger threshold of 20 micrograms per liter, but you'll see that a number of them are bumping up against that number. And in fact, some individual tests have been at 20 or higher. So they're of concern, need to be monitored. And hopefully those cottage associations are trying to understand the causes of those high phosphorus levels and do something to mitigate any further deterioration. Calcium is another important element. It again is necessary for small organisms that live in the lakes, as well as it buffers against too much acidity. Remember, we had the acid rain scare a while ago. Some lakes had sufficient calcium that they weren't that impacted. Too much calcium, though, creates an environment that's very conducive to the spread of invasive species like zebra mussels, Eurasian water milfoil, or stony I can say that, starry stonewort. There we go. Slow down, Carol. And if you look at the status of our lakes, none of them have a critical low level of calcium, which is really good. But a number of them have high calcium levels. I mean, look at Sandy, which is 41. The threshold is 1.5 milligrams. They're at 41. Big Bald and others, which means they're very prone to having invasive species take hold and expand their populations. So that can be problematic. Chloride is the other, this is salt, basically. Again, some chloride is necessary so that fish can maintain an optimal balance between salt and water in their bodies. But too much chloride can present risks to the aquatic life in our lakes, often caused by excessive road salt, along with some fertilizers and agricultural uses. In our case, we don't have any that are showing excessive levels of chloride, which is great. And so just something that continues to need to be monitored so that should we see a trend upward or it hits an unacceptable level, something can be done about that. The next one is dissolved oxygen, clearly necessary for fish who breathe and plants and other organisms. And it's a very good indicator of water quality. If there are low oxygen levels, it can lead to stress and death for aquatic life, impacting the entire ecosystem. This is can be a little deceptive because these measurements are taken at the lowest depths. And I know some of these lakes, like Cart, are 135 feet deep. So it simply means that at the lowest levels, there is no aquatic life. But there are other areas of the lake that do support fish life, and there are fish. But important to notice that there are layers and levels in these lakes, and continue to watch it. The next to last one is the Secchi disc test. This is a way to measure how far down light penetrates into lakes. The availability of light underwater is obviously important because algae and other aquatic plants need it for photosynthesis. So the productivity of a lake, the plant and animal life it can support, is in part dependent on the clarity of the water. We're very fortunate to have mostly clean, healthy, clear lakes in our area. And you can see that the clarity goes anywhere from 6 feet or 2 meters up to nearly over 20 feet. So very good indicator that that lake is performing very well and the ecosystem is healthy. And the last one next to last one is natural shorelines. By now, everybody hopefully knows that natural shorelines are vital ecosystems that provide numerous benefits, including maintaining water quality, supporting diverse wildlife habitats, and protecting against erosion and flooding. Some scientific studies have determined that if a lake has less than 75% of its shoreline in a natural or naturalized state, the health of the lake is in decline. So very important indicator. The Love Your Lake project was the one that measured natural shoreline. It was done in 2018, and so some of these numbers may have changed. But at the time, most lakes reached the threshold of 75% with a combination of natural and restored shorelines. We had a few that did not, which is worrisome: Pencil, Cavendish, Greens, and Beaver. The results of this study had been provided to all the participating cottage associations. So they've had the opportunity have and continue to have the opportunity to monitor and encourage these going forward. And finally, invasive species. These are species that are simply not native to our area. And when they're introduced, they tend to proliferate and can crowd out the natural species and also cause problems for boaters and swimmers if they clog up some of the waterway. Mostly these are brought in by boats that have not been cleaned when they come from other lakes. And this is just a snapshot of where we have reported sightings of invasive species in our lakes. It's very likely that invasive species exist in other lakes. They're underreported, and until they become a problem, often it's not recognized that they're in the lake. So that's kind of a fast overview of where are we, how healthy are our lakes? Are they being managed properly? Do we have concerns? So question is, what do we do with that information? And the Environmental Advisory Committee has suggested that these are the next steps. It was reviewed with the committee, who made some suggestions to the presentation. We wanted to present it to council and staff for their information and awareness. Next steps would be to share the specific data with building and planning staff so that they have it as future reference when looking at any kinds of land use planning applications. Prioritize waterfront areas going forward for municipal discretionary septic inspections. Encourage lakes. There are a few that do not currently perform water quality tests. So if you don't know what you got, you don't know where you're at. So it's recommended we will encourage those lakes to start performing water quality tests and play a stewardship role. Next, encourage lakes to report invasive species. Important that we see how they've spread and where they're spreading to, so that we can take corrective action to mitigate the spread. And lastly, encourage lakes to participate in the Lake Partner Program. That is the only province-wide database for these kinds of water quality metrics. In order to put this all together, I had to go to 5 different sources to pull the data because it's in all different places. And it's great that it's being done, but we never really had an overview of just our municipality and where we stand. So it's a point in time. This will change, but at least it gives us a sense of where we are, which is generally good, but clearly some opportunities for improvement. So that's my report, Mr. Mayor. I'll invite and open it up for any questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Armstrong. Does anyone have any comments or questions? Councillor Franklin, go ahead.
First of all, a comment. I really appreciate this report. I've read it through twice, but to comprehend everything that's in it, it takes a long time to comprehend it. I do have a question on the page that says list of named lake. We have the 3 former townships in our municipality, and the one is written as Galway, not Galway.
Yes, it is.
And
We can fix that.
Under that, we have Nogies, which I assume is Nogies Creek.
Yes.
That's not in Galway. That's in Harvey.
In both.
Yeah, it's in both.
There's a Nogies Lake as well.
Oh, okay. Okay, I wasn't aware of that.
It feeds the creek.
Okay.
No.
No, thank you for that.
Yep.
Certainly correct the Galway. I'm embarrassed.
We're all human. We all get to make mistakes. I think I made one this morning. So. Any other comments or questions? See, Councillor Braber, go ahead.
Thanks very much, Carol, for that, Deputy Mayor, sorry, for that report. It is a great reference tool. I know for myself, in the report, you mentioned that it potentially could be a resource for our planning department. How do you propose to keep this fluid and updated? If it's a year down the road and planning wants to reference it, how do we know that they're referencing up-to-date information?
It's a really good question. I would say we don't have plans to do that right now. Committee terminates at the end of this term. And so I'm not sure it's something that staff want to take on. It's an owner's job. I would say if there's a continuation of the committee, that would be something that continue to be part of their work plan. And beyond that, I think it's up to council to determine how they want to have that carried forward in the future committee and staff structure and responsibilities.
Go ahead. Just to follow up to that. Yeah, I see a sort of a condensed version in the future of this. So it's manageable to update and that sort of thing. So it's more of a quick reference. Yes, it's been updated as of, and here are the changes and that sort of thing. So it's a quick sort of snapshot that our planning department could resource.
That makes sense. There's behind all of this, of course, there is a very large database. And so that would be what we continue to maintain and update, and then we can extract from that the newer data. So that exists and obviously can be used going forward. It's a question of who.
Thank you. I just have one comment. I think this is a great starting point. I think this is a lot of information that has been gathered, and it is important to keep updating it because the health of our lakes can change pretty drastically in a short period of time. If you look out there right now, we're in trouble in this community. So thank you very much for gathering the information. Go ahead, Councillor Franzen.
One other comment. You've got in cold spots, encourage lakes to perform water quality tests, encourage lakes to report invasive species. How do you think the municipality should encourage the association?
I think the Environmental Advisory Committee is in a position to do that if council would give them that responsibility or basically delegate that. I've reached out to all the cottage associations to gather some of this information, and that's why we know that some lakes don't do water testing. So I think it's up to council to direct the committee if they choose to go out, and I do mean the word encourage, just tout the benefits and the value of doing it and target it to those specific lakes. There aren't very many. There are like 3 or 4.
It's quite nice to see that you put Greens Lake on there as having zebra mussel because that's a recent development that's not very good.
And one that does not do water quality testing.
Mhm. Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none. I'll be prepared to make a motion to receive that. Councillor Braybert for a mover, or a motion to receive. Councillor Cadigan for a seconder. Any further questions? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. Okay, thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Armstrong. Okay, we can move on to item 5.2 of our agenda, which is liaison reports for committee boards and council boards and committees. Does anyone have anything to report? I'm seeing none. We can move on to item 6 of our agenda, which is the statutory public meeting pursuant to the Planning Act. I would entertain a motion to suspend our regular meeting and go into our public meeting. See Councillor Cadigan for a mover, Councillor Braybert for a seconder. I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion is carried. And now we can move on to Del Arbor, our planner, to please do our preamble.
Thank you, and through you, Mayor Lambshead. Today's public meeting is being held under Section 17 and 34 of the Planning Act to consider an amendment to the municipality's official plan and comprehensive zoning bylaw B 2014-70. Applications 25-11 and 25-12 are strictly amendments to the zoning bylaw, whereas official plan amendment 63 and zoning bylaw amendment 25-06 applies to amendment to both the OP and zoning bylaw. A notice of public meeting for today's applications containing the prescribed information was circulated to all landowners within 120-meter radius of the subject lands at least 20 days prior to this meeting, and a sign was posted on the subject land in accordance with the Planning Act. The notice was also mailed to all prescribed agencies, public bodies, and persons in accordance with the regulations. Anyone wanting to be notified of any decision from today's public meeting must inform either myself or the clerk, and the notice of passing will be mailed to them, setting out the method and manner in which appeals may be made to the Ontario Land Tribunal. If a person does not send in a written comment prior to the passing of the bylaw or make an oral submission at a public meeting, that person may not be entitled to appeal the decision.
Okay, thank you very much, Del Arbor. Now we can move on to item 6.1 of our agenda, which is bylaw amendment, bylaw 2506. And I do believe Chris Jones, our external and part-time internal planner, would like to speak to this item.
Yeah, excuse me. Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and Council. You can hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so this is the first of 3 statutory public meetings today. This first one relates to OPA 63 and zoning bylaw amendment application 25-06. This relates to lands and part of lots 8 and 9, concession 9, geographic township of Harvey. Lot is located on Adam and Eve Road and has a road frontage of about 200 feet and a lot area just shy of 5 acres. And you can see figure 1 identifies the location of the subject lands. So these lands abut the Buckhorn Yacht Harbor, the existing Buckhorn Yacht Harbor Marina, and they are owned by a company associated with Buckhorn Yacht Harbor. And the objective is to redesignate and rezone the lands to permit an expansion of the existing marina in the form of 2 marina storage buildings. So maybe if we could just, yes, thanks, scroll ahead to figure 2. So that's a site plan of the proposed buildings. Those buildings having a ground floor area, 16,000 square feet and a height of 6.7 meters. And so in order to proceed to development, the planning approvals on the table are an official plan amendment to redesignate the lands from the rural designation to a commercial designation. And secondly, a zoning bylaw amendment to rezone the lands from the existing rural residential zone to a tourist commercial exception zone. If we just scroll forward to figure 3, and that provides some context for location of the lands, nature of the development, as well as surrounding land use. And the marine storage building would have direct access from Adam and Eve Road, but also an internal access driveway. Again, the nature of the proposed use is winter boat storage, and so access obviously from the existing marina and boat launch to get the boats basically internally into storage is the primary intention. So surrounding land uses to the north, we have some rural residential lands. To the south, of course, is the existing Buckhorn Yacht Harbor Marina. To the east is the existing shoreline residential uses abutting Buckhorn Lake. And to the west is the draft approved Granite Ridge Phase 2 residential subdivision. And so the applicant has been in pre-consultation with the planning department for some time on this proposal. It is with the 2 applications and the nature of development, it is a more complex proposal. So the technical work that accompanied the applications included archaeology, environmental impact or natural heritage assessment, noise impact, planning justification report, as well as a servicing and stormwater management report. So I'll just identify some of the sort of salient conclusions or recommendations with respect to natural heritage. These lands are in predominantly in a natural state. There has been some historic tree removals, but obviously any lands in a primarily natural state do have the propensity to support wildlife habitat. And so the lands, the report did identify the lands having characteristics that could support significant wildlife habitat, and including bald eagle, osprey, woodland raptor, woodland area sensitive bird breeding habitat, special concern and rare wildlife species such as snapping turtle, as well as bat maternity colonies. In summary, the report provided a number of recommendations and mitigation measures that could be formalized through a site plan agreement. The report concluded that the nature of the development would not negatively impact natural heritage features or functions. With respect to noise impact, the applicant submitted a noise impact study, determined that the development lands were located in a Class 3 rural area in accordance with the Ministry of Environment publication NPC 300. And that Class 3 area has a sound level exclusion of 45 dBA during the daytime, 45 dBA during evening and nighttime hours. The report assessed 20 adjacent sensitive receptors for noise impacts primarily resulting or caused by machinery, tow motors that would be involved in sort of the coming and going of taking boats back and forth. And the report concluded that sound level limits on adjacent sensitive receptors would not exceed ministry sound level limits. With respect to servicing and stormwater, obviously the construction of 2 large buildings of this nature will change post development storm flows. The report and accompanying stormwater plan has been designed in a manner that would manage post-development storm flows to essentially ensure that the culvert under Adam and Eve Road through on-site controls won't be impacted or faced with storm flows that exceed the current flows. And our manager of public works has reviewed that report, and I was also involved with the meeting with the manager of public works and the engineer with respect to that plan. Ultimately, again, as a commercial undertaking, adherence to that plan is something that can be leveraged through a site plan agreement. And so continuing with my report on page 6, I have provided a summary of the provincial planning statement and some of what I feel are the salient policies applicable to the development at hand. I've also looked at the County of Peterborough official plan, and I have reviewed a number of criteria that are contained in the official plan, the county official plan anyway, with respect to the introduction of new commercial or industrial uses. These criteria are helpful, but they actually are not directly related to Trent Lakes, given that we have our own official plan, but they are still good planning criteria, which I have considered, and the report again provides an overview or summary of my own opinions or assessment. More specifically with the Trent Lakes official plan, I point or draw council's attention to section 567, which allows the expansion of existing commercial designations subject to consideration of the development criteria under 5.6.6. So again, we have a situation where there is, with the existing marina business, we have an existing commercial designation and essentially a proposal to expand that to accommodate these 2 new buildings. So again, we have a number of planning criteria that relate to compatibility, impact, physical suitability of the site, buffering and building setbacks, site design. And again, my council has reviewed my report. You can see my analysis and consideration of those policy criteria. And then further to that, the Trent Lakes official plan under section 810.3 requires the following criteria to be assessed in the consideration of an amendment to the plan. Firstly, the need for the proposed use. My opinion is the existing marina business has operated for many years in the current location and certainly serves a regional need for marine services. Marina businesses or marina facilities are not necessarily numerous or easy to establish. So the existing business and its proposed expansion are certainly viewed as a need in the community. Suitability of the site, and I believe the subject lands are highly suited to the proposed use, given that they abut the marina business and are reasonably buffered from surrounding uses. C, compatibility of the proposed use with adjacent and surrounding uses. Based on the site plan, I believe the proponent has made efforts to bring those buildings closer to Adam and Eve Road and maintain a more of a buffer from the lake-based area. And on the issue of compatibility, the NPC noise criteria are really is intended to be sort of a primary determinant in addressing at least compatibility of noise impacts. And then the criteria about the physical suitability of the site. And I've been to the site and I don't have any particular concerns that the development is not physically suitable and appropriate for the site. And again, location with respect to access and that type of thing. The site is certainly ideally located from the perspective of road access and water access and access to the existing marina business. Water and septic servicing is not proposed in conjunction with the proposed marine storage buildings. Proposed effect of the potential effect on the financial position of the municipality. I don't foresee that the proposed use would have a negative financial impact on the municipality. And again, the criteria go on, but again, I believe the salient factors relate to need, appropriateness of the use, and compatibility. As I say, I walked the site, find the nature of the site, its proximity to the existing marina business to be appropriate. Site and the proposed use, as I've mentioned, have been assessed from a number of technical perspectives, and these studies have concluded the use is appropriate and compatible from an environmental and physical perspective. And in summary, I find the proposed amendments to be consistent with the provincial planning statement as well as applicable policies of the County of Peterborough and Trent Lakes official plans. And my recommendation is that I have prepared a draft official plan amendment for council's consideration, which is in the agenda today. If subject to public comments and any concerns or comments of council, that amendment could potentially be adopted, for which would then allow the county to initiate their review. The zoning bylaw amendment could be deferred pending approval of the OPA and ultimately execution of a site plan agreement by the applicant. Now, the only other, that sums up my report, Mr. Mayor and Council. I know there has been some comments submitted subsequent to the preparation of this report. I will speak briefly to Mr. Arians, or Aaron, submitted a few questions, and I think he got a couple of his questions or clarifications looked after. In his email, he was looking for the technical reports, and I believe that information was provided to him, as well as setback information for the tourist commercial zone. He did raise a question about requirements for the keeping of green spaces. Certain percent of lot must be green space or landscape. So a couple of comments on that. The lot coverage maximum for buildings and structures is 15% in the tourist commercial zone, which the applicant is compliant with at 15%. So they are maximizing lot coverage. But as shown on the site plans, a substantial area of the site is intended to be maintained in an open space with existing natural buffers. Those are elements that can be also, again, maintained or leveraged through the site plan agreement. There was a question about this: was there a study on the impact of residential property values for properties that abut the current residential use? And the answer to that question is no. Valuation impacts of that nature, in my experience in reviewing or reconciling planning applications, is not a typical assessment criteria. And so the answer to that question is that no, there is not a specific report or assessment that considered property value impacts. Question: what is the plan to minimize or abate the impact on neighboring residential properties? Again, that's the combination of the noise report, which has indicated compliance with the ministry guideline, as well as the design considerations, and to pull those buildings a bit closer to Adam and Eve Road and maintain an open space and natural buffers along the north and south and eastern lot lines. And then a question or a comment, has there been discussion on severing the subject property into 2 parcels, keeping the residential section abutting existing residential and the parcel closer to Adam and Eve as commercial? So I think what, and maybe Mr. Aarons can speak to this, I think the notion is that could the property be severed or split in a sort of a north-south manner to allow residential use abutting the private road as essentially as a backlot, I guess, to the lake development. A couple of comments there. A proposal of that nature or consent proposal of that nature would be at odds with the official plan, I believe, as far as creating a non-shoreline lot with access only by private road. So there would be a prevailing policy issue there. The other issue that probably the applicant would be more concerned about would be, again, the potential introduction of a new sensitive use, maybe closer to than they would prefer, if there was essentially a residential lot created to the abutting that property. Like you'd essentially be bringing another sort of sensitive receptor into the mix. So, Mr. Mayor and Council, that's my overview at this point. And if there's any questions of council at this point, by all means, let me know. Otherwise, we can proceed with the public meeting and any other public comments.
Okay, thank you very much, Chris Jones, our external planner. Does any member of council have any questions for Chris at this time? Go ahead, Councillor Brayberg.
Thank you. I just have a question and a comment. Chris, in your report, it says it will be recommended that council's consideration of the zoning bylaw amendment be deferred pending the approval of the the OPA by the county. How long has this OPA been outstanding within the county of Peterborough?
No, okay, just so we're clear, that isn't a reference to the county official plan. That's just a reference to our current sort of planning administration, and that we are still in a process where amendments to our official plan, to the Trent Lakes official plan, can only be adopted by the Trent Lakes Council and need to be approved by the county of Peterborough. So by adopting the OPA today or shortly, that then puts the OPA on the conveyor belt to the county so that they can continue with their review and approval process.
Thanks, Chris.
I think if you look at recommendations, it doesn't. Okay.
Yeah, that's the third point of the recommendation. Yeah, I saw that. So just my comment is this business has been in existence since the early 70s, mid 70s. And the current storage has been outside. So my thoughts are by creating indoor storage, it would cut down, this is just my opinion, cut down on any sort of excess noise and in essence, bringing the outside to inside. And so it would address any sort of noise issues and that sort of thing. So. Yeah.
Okay, does anyone have any other comments or questions from council? Yeah, we'll open it to the floor. Is anyone in the gallery for or against this application? Go ahead, please.
I'm not sure I
Please
have
state your
that.
name.
David Aarons.
Okay.
I was quoted by Chris, so thank you for bringing that up. So appreciate the time in front of the council. So I'm not sure that I immediately have an opinion for or against. I think I have some questions and concerns. Chris addressed some of it.
Okay,
So is this a good opportunity to?
this is your
put these
opportunity.
forward? Perfect.
Absolutely.
So.
Can you hear David, Chris?
No,
Perhaps you could come to the podium there and we can speak into the microphone and then we can make sure that everyone can hear you.
Yeah.
I think we do have some
There's
online
a microphone
participants.
and lights on there. All right. Okay,
Okay, lights, camera.
perfect. Yes, this is my habitat. So thank you, council. Appreciate the opportunity to have a conversation. I'm here also with several members of Fire 25. I see a bunch of them and I'm glad to. We have lived on Fire 25 for about 5.5 years. One of the reasons we purchased the property, one of the primary kind of paramount reasons was because of the bisecting of Fire 25 of each of our properties along that shoreline. Effectively, it creates a backlot, but it's not a technical backlot. It's just the fire route bisects the lots. And the lots backed onto and continue to back onto residential zoned property. We place a lot of value because there are no properties built in behind our properties, at least not directly. That was an important choice, I think, for me. And also, I'll let some of the other neighbors speak as they wish. But in speaking to them, that is a very valuable part of why we purchased along that wonderful section of Fire Route 25, which, by the way, is a dead end. It's very quiet. We don't get very much traffic down there, as you can imagine. It's sort of naturally secure, in part due to the marina configuration. So we also appreciate that. And we also appreciate the fact that Buckhorn Yacht Harbor Club is there. We use them, they service our boat, they winterize it, they summarize it. We get a lot of value out of it. We understand the need for the continuity or continuation of that business's success and for potential expansion. Now, I'm also a realtor. If some of you don't know, I am in the area. And so I took a little closer look at the properties surrounding the subject land. Right now, the subject property that is up on the screen and with the cross marks abuts directly 3 of our shoreline properties. You know, the concern that we have and that I have as a realtor, and Chris sort of mentioned it, but I think I'll go much, much further, is that when a residential property abuts a commercial property, it is stigmatized and it affects value, period. There's no question about it. I sell lots of real estate. And as soon as there's a commercial piece of land against the residential real estate, it devalues that real estate. So that's a major concern for us. The other concern I would say is that the property just to the north of the subject property, it's not really demarked on this site plan. So I would submit that, I'll just do a little visual. There is another vacant lot built along here that is owned by the Feudors. That is also zoned residential. Yes, there you go, just north of the red line. You know, the concern, and Chris mentioned this in his notes, and I'll just, if you give me a moment, I'll just quote, Chris said something to the effect of that I'm sorry, I can't find where I wrote this down, but in any event, Chris, you noted that the neighboring property was, you know, what am I trying to say? Or I guess the subject property was functional for the marina use and for commercial usage. But the question we have is what stops then that next northern property from also being friendly and appropriate? And, you know, does that also then potentially get consumed in the future? So that's a future. I don't think we're going to answer that question today, but it's a thought because it sort of follows the same logic as we just heard from Chris. So indeed, one of the questions that I had was why not sever that property kind of north-south? So where you see on the southeast corner, if a line were to be drawn, essentially, this is not technical, due north and protect the abutting residential properties, the 3 residential properties that are also not demarked here, but there are 3. So again, let me just go up here. There's one property here, which includes the island. There's a second property, and then the third property, which is my property. Then protect against a rezoning to commercial and abutting to commercial, reduce that risk and help save the land value and the property value of those already residential zone properties. I'm not sure I quite understood why, Chris, why this could not be done. I know you mentioned something to the effect of that residential property then becomes a bit of an island that might not be compatible, but I'm not really sure why, because the properties to the north are zoned residential abutting the lakeshore residences as well. So I don't see why that's an issue, and there is potential direct access from the fire route if needed. But really the whole point is maybe it should not be residential, maybe it should be open space designated, something that's protected to protect those residents along the shoreline instead of commercial. So we are not opposed to having expansion of the commercial business. It's a viable burgeoning business. We see that, we use it, we know that. I think some of us have talked about how, why these buildings couldn't be put on the existing property. I don't know if anyone is able to sort of speak to that. I'm not sure setbacks are really the issue or just the way the business is currently organized. So that's one question we have. Second question is if in fact it does, or option, if it in fact it is most appropriate to put in the subject property that we're reviewing today, that we would really want to push for that chunk of land against the residential property to be carved off as a severed land, and to be rezoned something appropriate to protect against being abutting to commercial land and affecting property value. Okay. I think just one other very small, since I have the microphone. On the environmental, these are just purely administrative, and so I'm not really taking so much issue to these, but on the environmental study, the maps do show the subject property. It's not entirely accurate. It is showing it to expand in behind this property here, which is not the case, obviously, because this is the appropriate boundary. But some of the environmental studies take it up to here. Again, I don't know if that has any relevance or if that's just a technicality that can be dealt with administratively somehow, but I just wanted to bring that up. Also, the environmental studies on species coming into this area, I think one thing that was missing was we see fox, we also see a bunch of woodpecker species, and we see a lot of them. I know one of the other residents that are here has a camera and watches for wildlife, so we see what wildlife comes through Fire Route 25, and this is a big alleyway to for those species. So that's just sort of a side note. The other piece is traffic. So already today in season, as we're traversing through the marina, which we have to, right? We have to come off of Adam and, it's probably easier to show you. We have to come in off Adam and Eve Road along the fire route and then make this hard left on Fire Route 25. This is all marina. There's cars parked here. There's parking over here in front of where the propeller and the rest of the building. There are tractors and all kinds of stuff going on, which is fine, and it's all very friendly, and but in the height of the summer, sometimes this definitely gets clogged. And also this section of Fire Route 25 is quite narrow. If we're going to be opening up that much more traffic, both for owners dropping off boats and for more congestion of boats being located or being relocated from either the water or from existing storage areas into this area, I mean, that's a lot more traffic that I think should really be considered, either widening of roads or some other, planning to reroute that much traffic. Okay. Yeah, okay. I think those are sort of the salient points that we want to get across. And as I said, I think our biggest concern really is just the changing of the landscape for us as residential owners, not really wanting to be abutting commercial so that our property values are not affected. Okay. Any questions for me?
Thank you very much. Anyone have any questions for David?
Comments,
I
questions?
don't know if Chris wanted to address any of those myriad of questions that we were presented.
Mr. Mayor, is the applicant or a representative of the applicant there that would like to speak to any of the comments or concerns?
Would either of you like to speak? Yeah, that's,
Yeah, I
just
can
state
answer
your
a
name.
couple of
Just,
questions.
yeah, just state your name, please.
So they can do it.
So as far as severing the lot north and south, there would be no access to Fire Route 25. It would become landlocked at that point. So I don't believe that the only access would be across Buckhorn Yacht Harbor's property. There would be no access to put a driveway in there. And as far as the extra traffic that you may be concerned about, it's not so much, the idea is not so much to bring in more business. It's basically just to more efficiently get the boats put away in a timely manner. And it's basically just servicing the boats that are already currently there, not so much as bringing in new business.
Thank you. Thank you. Yep. And just state your name for the record, just.
Marcus Feuder.
Thank you. Okay, any other comments, Chris?
I have nothing further at this time, Mr. Mayor. We just want to see if there's anybody else has
Yep.
any.
Does anyone else have any comments or questions?
I can say one thing too.
Please go ahead. Just state your name for the record when you're.
My name is Lucas Feuder, and you mentioned the foxes and the wildlife, and yes, there's lots of foxes and wildlife. And yes, of course, there's going to be tree removal, and there's going to be some grading happening and a loss of natural habitat. But on the plus side of that, our goal is to reduce the use of thousands of pounds of single-use plastics in the shrink wrap that we require to store these boats. So we would be eliminating, again, thousands of pounds of single-use plastics, as well as a lot of antifreeze that is required to winterize these boats, as these buildings are going to be heated. So that's our goal with that.
Okay. Thank you for that comment. Does anyone else have any comments or questions? Go ahead, please. Come to the podium and state your name for the record.
Bill McFarland. I am also a property owner on Fire Route 25. So just further to what David was saying here, I'm actually a little bit further down the fire route, so I'm not directly affected by this. But, just in general, I just wanted to say that, I support some of, his concerns. I definitely see, what he's talking about there, but I also appreciate, what Luke, you just said about, the environmental and reducing the plastics and those types of things. And I think, David had said it earlier, I don't think any of the residents on Fire Route 25, like we consider, friendly neighbors with Buckhorn Yacht Marine, we all service our boats there. We get along well with them. So we're not trying to block anything from happening. We just want to make sure everybody is doing their due diligence to think about, what the current situation is and what that might look like in the future. As David said, who might be 5, 10, 15 years down the road, but who's to say that, there isn't additional needs and it just keeps creeping further and further up and it keeps going more commercial, and all of a sudden there's a Burger King on Adam and Eve across the street. So I just think we need to look at the bigger picture to understand what the area represents and what we want it to represent.
And I think that will be would be addressed through another planning application. If there was some sort of application
Yeah.
to expand more, there'd be another application put in, and then that's when we could certainly have some controls and measures in place for that. So,
Well, like I said, I appreciate the time and like, it's a great learning experience and that's what we're here just to listen and understand, you know, what the application was for and what it looked like for the
and
future.
this is your opportunity to ask questions. So if you have
Thank you.
questions, then we'll try to get them answered. Yes, please, go ahead. Just come up to the podium and state your name for the record, please. I'm going to ask everybody to remove your hats, so I forgot to tell you that earlier. It's just a rule of the room.
We're neighbors and our boat is also there. Thank you very much. I'm wondering one thing. Think about here is yard in harbor. Here is another. Look at the picture. It's green, but overall problem majority area will be changed to this color in future, right? That can be environmental concern. So like you're talking for King coming, so that another area will be changed to color for this way. Another thing, and for my area, the survey is the new survey or the original survey?
It's about 5 years old or so.
Yeah, sir, it's updated.
When we moved in five years ago, I remember I was talking to the survey, the land is, here's my area, right? Suppose like 10 feet away from this gray area. So look like land just cutting. So I don't know for that.
I'm not sure what your question is there, like,
Branches cutting?
Oh, no person, no change.
no,
Original, no change. But here, this line, suppose a little bit away from this gray area.
oh, it is away from it? I mean, the survey may not be absolutely accurate.
Yeah.
That's a GIS location. Some of those lines will not be perfect. It's just more to show you the basic layout of the properties. I think when you do some GISing, there is a small error in accuracy because that's taken from a satellite, so.
Oh,
So-
it's a real, it's not at all.
It's not, yeah, exactly. It's not an actual survey. It's a GIS
So
locating of
if
soft
it's
lot.
done by 3 years
Yeah.
ago.
Can we get your name for the record? Sorry.
Hmm?
Can we get your name?
Jason, Jason, last name Huang, Jason Huang.
Okay.
58.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I mean, if 3 years ago, maybe the survey, new survey changed.
Yeah, they don't usually change.
Yeah.
There's steel pins in the ground that are located and
Yeah, the property line's about 20 feet behind your pond cement there.
okay. All right, thank you. Thank you for your comments. Does anyone else have any more comments or questions regarding this file?
I could comment once more.
Okay.
Again, kind of the effect of dividing the lot, which isn't being proposed, but we are not, basically, if you were to run a line from there due north, there's no plans to develop from there over anyway. Basically, all the development's going to be out here towards Adam and Eve.
And there may only be one building here in Brentford as well.
As you spend more money on studies.
Well, if I could just add, I mean, that's what David, if I could say, that's what David was trying to say earlier about, you know, not to jump on for David, but like you said, Marcus, it's not gonna go, you're not gonna develop over in this triangle anyway.
No.
And that's what David was saying about, well, could you sever so that this does stay protected as residential or tourist residential or whatever it was. Just that protects these 4 properties from not butting right up against a commercially zoned.
Okay, yeah. Make sure our comments and questions go through the chair, please.
Which we don't have because of the
Right.
buffer zone. And I think yes, you are butting up to the commercial property, but the buffer zone is an attractive feature. I mean, it has to be a bit of you have 150 feet buffer zone on this side of the road, which is an attractive feature, but yes, in essence, you are butted up against to a commercial property, but there is that buffer zone. And then, which is 150 feet. So if this was to scale, that's almost, that would be almost, what are the 450 feet from here to here. So.
Okay.
And as I said, the plan is only to build one building first, and the second building may not even happen. But
Yeah.
that's part of the application.
Okay.
And as far as developing that second lot, I know, it's my word against, but that's never the plan. And we only have a certain amount of employees and, a certain amount of time to process these boats. And that's just not in the plan.
And of course, we understand it, right? We're not trying to be terribly controversial. We understand it.
Okay, we're not going to have a conversation in the gallery.
So,
Keep your comments and questions going through the chair, please.
Chair, I want to just be clear. So the earlier comments, this is actually the fire route, the single road that goes through and bisects the property. The property boundary is here on the residential properties. They go back here. So this buffer zone is between the dark red line and the dotted red line, just for the record, right? So yes, I think it is 300 to 450 square feet or feet distance. But the issue is not that. The issue is not whether or not they are working through a buffer zone. They are. The issue is a zoning issue. What I would say is if I'm evaluating any of these three properties, I would probably drop it 15 to 20% on the stigma of being abutted against a commercial property. That's significant, right? These are, 2-ish million, 2.5 to 3 million, probably 1.5 million or more. That's a substantial amount of value off of that. So I feel like there's a solution. I'm not a technical planning expert the way that Adele is or Chris. But I feel like if there is some severance or something that either gives some access to this property or keep it as open space or some sort of designation that is not commercial is going to really be a satisfactory answer for us. We don't want to stop the progress of the Yacht Harbor Club. We just want to protect this land. And just a designated buffer zone is not sufficient, just to be clear for the record. Okay?
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments and questions. I think we have someone on the line that would like to speak to this application.
Jesse Hardy, I'm unmuting you now.
Hey, Jesse, are you there?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Right, thank you. I just wanted to clarify, Mr. Jones was just speaking completely on behalf of the planning and zoning department, or were they also speaking on behalf of like the applicant?
Go ahead. Adele Arbor, our planner, would like to speak to that question.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Jones wrote the report on behalf of the municipality. So it's the application that was before Trent Lakes Council, and it's the planning staff's opinion that he presented.
Okay, did you get that?
I believe so. I just wanted to avoid any kind of conflict of interest. Is what was my point. It sounded like he was work sometimes for the municipality, and if he was working now for the applicant, that could be perceived as a conflict of interest.
Yeah, yes, no. Chris Jones is working for the municipality of Trent Lakes.
All right, thank you. That was all. I just want to ensure there was no perceived or actual conflict of interest. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you for bringing that up. We appreciate the question. Okay, any further questions or comments from the council or staff?
I have one more
Okay,
online.
one more online, okay.
Ithilin, I'm going to mute you now.
What was the first one? Hello, are you online? Please state your name for the record.
You're still muted if you're trying to talk.
Sometimes I feel like I'm talking to myself.
Good afternoon.
Hi, how are you?
Council. Very good, thank you. My name is Bethlen. I'm the planner for the applicant. I want to thank my colleague Chris for that very informative presentation. I do want to note a couple of points. Some of them address the questions and concerns raised by members of the public. I think many of them have already been addressed by council and Chris and the applicants. I do want to note that the primary access for this development will be by way of the existing development to the south. I know that one of the community members there raised potential concerns with respect to traffic. The entrance to this property from Adam and Eve Road will only be used for emergency purposes, so primarily for fire access. So the access to the property will be, again, from the existing business to the south. With respect to a couple of comments on a potential zoning or other planning mechanism to protect the natural area that's close to the lake, abutting the property that's owned by one of the community members that just spoke. I do want to note that the subject development that contains these two buildings already meets the maximum 15% lot coverage for this area, so it's not anticipated and it's not possible to add any other buildings in addition to these two buildings. So that area will not be developed. I do want to also just bring to the attention of council that there's an EIS that has been completed, and that contains recommendations which will be captured by way of a site plan agreement that does protect some of these natural features. With respect to the dotted line that's shown, that's simply, to my understanding, that's recognition of the setback that's required for all development in the zoning bylaw. So it's not anticipated that development will be up to that dotted line. It's simply to show that there is a setback in the zoning bylaw that must be respected. I also want to quickly state that with respect to any potential expansion of this, any additional development to the property to the north, and I think through you, Mr. Mayor, you may have already answered this question, but any additional development which the applicant has confirmed is not anticipated will be subject to additional Planning Act applications and will be subject to another review process where town staff or the respective consultant that works for the town will be able to comment, and it will be subject to another review. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions of the plan? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. It's a question to the planner that we just heard from, and I'm sorry I didn't just name.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, my name is Vithulan. It's Vithulan.
Great, thank you. Vithulan, my question is on something that you said. You said that the two buildings already would meet the maximum 15% lot coverage. So if I understand that correctly, then if we were to divide that property into two and have one designated local or open space or rural residential, then the two buildings would represent like 30% coverage of the remaining one. Is that how I'm understanding your comment? So then that would be not feasible and it would have to be looking at a whole nother exception process.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that is correct. It will no longer be in compliance with the zoning bylaw.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Councillor Cadigan, go ahead.
Through you, Mayor Lambshead, for clarification, Fire Route 25 is a private road. The municipality doesn't maintain it or? Correct, okay.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Oh, go ahead, one more time.
I'm very persistent. So mathematically, when I look at this map to the council members, I don't understand how those two buildings represent 15% of the land coverage. How is that possible? Mathematically, that's impossible.
I think it's probably the entire property, maybe. I'm not sure. I'd have to ask Chris that. The blue boxes look like they're considerably more than
15%.
15% of the entire property.
Correct.
I'm sure they've done the math on it. It's probably just, again, this is not exactly to scale because it is just done from a satellite. So as you well know in the real estate industry.
Well, I think the current building where Kawartha Propeller is to the south is about 14,000 square feet. Is that right? Yes. Okay, but it's similar size.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like those blue boxes are proportionally probably right. So those two buildings together do not look like 15% of that land mass. So probably
I'm
worth
sure that
doing.
calculation will be pretty accurate once that's goes to, if it goes to fruition.
Mhm. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions online? Any other questions from council? From staff?
I have one more question. Dave Lazzarato, I'm unmuting you now.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead, Dave.
Great, thank you. Appreciate what the council's done, the planners have done, our fellow residents on Fire Route 25 who showed up and asked some questions. My wife and I agree with all of those comments that David and Bill made. I'm wondering if one of the things that could be done, not to say the only, but where I believe it was David referenced the parking that takes place along Fire Route 25 in front of the propeller shop and across the street from the from the propeller shop. If it's possible to move those cars and trucks that park there around the side or the back of the building. And that's not necessarily something for right now, maybe, but if the owners could think about that, there's, somewhere between 10 and 15, 18 vehicles there at various times during the day. And if there's going to be, more traffic going up that way, at least to have a real clear fire route would be helpful. So that was one thought. The other thought, what David just asked about the 15%, I can't do that math without numbers on this thing, but yeah, I'd say that looks appropriate to me too. That's a very, very good question.
It's not appropriate.
It's a good appropriate question to ask.
Yes,
Excuse me.
yes.
That's my wife, Lori, also. And we're the middle property of the three that David referred to. So.
Okay, well, thank you very much for coming online and talking to us. We appreciate it.
Can I just ask one question also, please?
You absolutely can. This is your time.
Hi, my name is Lori Laparco. I'm with David. So where will the road be to bring the boats into the facilities there? I know they have access through Adam and Eve, but I'm also trying to understand from a configuration perspective where that road might be.
That's a good question. Go ahead. Lucas Futer is going to answer the question for you.
Hi, thanks for the question. Are you looking at the picture online right now?
Yes, I am.
The colored one,
yes.
Yeah, so if you see the two blue boxes, there's a white object sort of in front of the first box, the lower box, excuse me. I suppose the access would be right through there, which is right where we're currently parking boats at the moment. So the route in which we store the boats and transport them up to that area would not change. It would be the same as it was. You have any questions about that?
Yeah, sorry, Mr. Mayor, sorry to interject. Figure 2 might be more helpful just to show that access point. Does that help?
Oh, I see. Right around there.
Yeah, it's right where we're currently blocking most of those big boats at the moment.
So will all those trees be torn down to create a road?
No, we're not coming anywhere close to the buffer zone as far as removing the trees.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
And then as far as parking, this could be a solution actually to the parking along the fire route, as we will have more room and we can move those boats inside. We will have, of course, it will clear up some parking space where we can move those vehicles elsewhere.
I'd appreciate it if you looked at that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
All right. Thank you very much for the comments and questions. Any further questions from the gallery? None. Any further questions from council? I'm seeing none. We can move on to our next item on our agenda, which is item 6.2, which is zoning bylaw amendment, file number 2511. And I do believe Chris Jones, our external planner, would like to speak to this item, please?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, just let me get that report in front of me here. Just give me a moment. This is just so I'm following the agenda. This is a file number 25-11.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Okay. So, Mr. Mayor and Council, it's an application for rezoning part of lot 32, concession 4, and I believe Davies, the name Davies is perhaps the benefiting landowner. But in any event, and sorry, just a clarification on this too. My report refers to the street address of this lot being 88 Fire Route 242. In fact, it's 35 Fire Route 133. So the lots on Mississauga Lake and part of lot 32, concession 4, geographic township of Cavendish. The motivation for this rezoning stems from a application for consent for a lot addition. And so figure 1 identifies the that little snippet of land that was taken from the abutting landowner and through a consent approval by the county land division committee. The purpose of that being to add, again, that piece of property to the benefiting lands. And again, so I believe the intent of the lot addition was to align or accommodate a hydro line. I'm not sure on that, but that's based on my site visit. That's my understanding. So the rezoning is somewhat procedural in that the lands that are being severed and transferred to the neighbor have been previously zoned into an exception zone. I believe that zone was SR 58 and sorry, SRPA 58. And so when you facilitate a severance like this, you have to reconcile the zoning to make sure that there isn't make sure that there's a zone category that inadvertently gets tied to another piece of land and to sort of confuse the situation. So yeah, so that's really the whole purpose of the rezoning. It's a condition of the consent approval. And what we've also done is essentially put the benefiting lot into its own new zone exception. So the benefiting together with the original parcel is proposed to go to an SRPA exception 137. And all that's going to do is recognize the resultant lot area and shoreline lot frontage of that parcel, which it's certainly getting larger, but it's still in a non-compliant state as far as the zoning bylaw is concerned. So in situations like that, it's where you are altering a lot and essentially it's becoming a quote new lot in the eyes of the zoning bylaw. The preferred approach is to ensure that the resultant lot area and frontage are recognized. So that's really what this application is about. And there is an amending bylaw on the agenda for council's consideration in that regard. That's my summary, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much, Chris Jones. Does anyone on council have any comments or questions for Chris? I'm seeing none. Is there anyone in the gallery that would like to speak for or against this application? I'm seeing none. I do have a comment. The reason for the severance is someone planted their garden on the wrong piece of property and they didn't want to do that. So they decided to buy that little piece of property to accommodate the existing gardens. That's the reasoning.
Okay.
Okay. I can see no more questions for you, Chris. We will.
Kevin Duguay is on.
Okay, Kevin Duguay, you can please unmute yourself and speak to this item, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. I have considered the staff report. I do acknowledge the correction of municipal address that was referenced on page 1 of Mr. Jones' report. I've considered the bylaw and I concur with same. And this is in fact a consequence of a land division committee decision allowing for a modest lot addition in favor of Davies, he being my client, and it's to reflect existing built conditions of the Davies property. I make myself available to council in the event there are any questions, and I take this opportunity to thank staff, Mr. Jones, for the production of their favorable staff report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Kevin Duguay. Does anyone on council have any comments or questions? Does anyone on the virtual gallery or our physical gallery have any questions for Kevin Duguay? I'm seeing none. Okay, I think we can move on to our next item. Thank you very much, Kevin. Appreciate you coming online. Okay, we can move on now to item 6.3 of our agenda, which is zoning bylaw amendment file number 2512. And I think Chris Jones, our external planner, you would like to speak to this item for us, please.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor and Council, this is an application for zoning bylaw amendment initiated by the municipality of Trent Lakes. And it's in respect of lands in Part Lot 8, Concession 13, Geographic Township of Harvey. And the lot's located at 255 Lakehurst Circle Road and is the lands are best known as essentially the neighboring lands to the existing Lakehurst Hall. Property in question has a lot area of about 9 acres, and again, it's identified in Figure 1 of my report. So if we scroll forward to Figure 2 of my report, as I say, the subject lands abut the Lakehurst Hall, and a portion of the lands directly fronting on the road have been used as parking associated with the hall for some time. And the objective of the application is to rezone the lands to certainly maintain and recognize that parking area, and also to establish an outdoor event facility in the form of a small amphitheater. There would also be an associated trailhead, again, associated with the existing trail, which is at this point is informal, but it's nonetheless an unopened road allowance, which has been used for some time as a recreational trail. That's the unopened road allowance south of the hall between concessions 13 and 14. And so at Figure 2, we have a conceptual site plan which the Parks Department prepared of the proposed facility. So these lands are zoned currently in the development D zone, and the proposed rezoning would rezone the lands to a community facility exception zone. Just based on my discussions, I understand there's some background in terms of the hall committee, Parks Department, Council. But in my discussions with Parks Department, my understanding is that the Lakehurst Hall has served the community for many years and has seating capacity of about 125 people. And it was reconstructed in 2010 to accommodate accessibility measures and a full kitchen. And the lands subject to the application, which were acquired in, I believe, 2012, and they were used to create a more formal parking area for the hall by accommodating approximately 50 cars. And so, as I understand it, there has been discussion for some time about ways to utilize these lands in a way that's complementary to the hall. And so the municipality was successful in acquiring an Ontario Trillium Foundation grant to establish an outdoor event space. And that would be an event space essentially capable of accommodating outdoor weddings and functions in conjunction with the use of the hall. And so with that funding secured, the municipality compiled background information in the form of a survey, conceptual site plan, and a noise study. In preparing the site plan, the objective was to utilize existing topography and locate the facility in a manner to keep it proximate and accessible to the parking lot and the hall. Conceptual plan proposes an open air facility designed for day use without buildings or structures or lighting. Also proposed in the concept is a trailhead connection linking the existing trail to the parking lot. The noise study was undertaken by a qualified engineer, and that study noted that Open air facilities of this nature fall outside the provincial noise assessment guideline. Excuse me. That's NPC 300, as they are not industrial uses by nature or definition. Notwithstanding, the study employed a series of assumptions, criteria, and concluded if the facility was limited to day use and did not employ amplification, the facility would respect provincial criteria for noise impacts in a rural setting. I have reviewed in my report on page 4 some salient policies of the PPS, which I think are applicable to the application at hand. These lands are designated both in the County of Peterborough official plan and the Trent Lakes official plan as being part of a settlement area or hamlet. Within that context, in the Trent Lakes official plan, permitted uses include parkland and recreational uses and institutional and community facilities. And 5128 of the Trent Lakes official plan also addresses land use compatibility measures. Again, that is a policy that is more reflective of provincial policy and guidelines intended to address compatibility between industrial and sensitive uses. Notwithstanding at a practical level, the decisions we make, we strive for good land use planning decisions in an effort to prevent, minimize, or mitigate unreasonable impacts between land uses. My own consideration and assessment is these subject lands form part of a settlement area in Lakehurst and are designated in a manner that contemplates a broad range of uses. And similarly, the development D zone, which these lands are currently, which is the zone category they are located within, is intended to function as a holding zone in areas where future development and change is anticipated. My opinion, the proposal to utilize a small portion of the subject lands as an outdoor event facility to formalize a recreational trailhead and an outdoor event space will pay long-term social and economic benefits to the municipality. And as a municipal operated facility, I believe it certainly can be managed in a manner that's not only complementary but beneficial to the hall and the surrounding community. I'm of the view the application is consistent with the PPS and conforms with the Trent Lakes official plan. And with that, Mr. Mayor, I will turn it back to you. My understanding is the engineer that prepared the noise study on behalf of the municipality is in attendance at the meeting, and so is available for any questions or comments from council or the public. And at this point, I'll turn it back to Mayor and Council and carry on with the public meeting.
Okay, thank you very much, Chris Jones. Does anyone on council have any comments or questions for Chris? Deputy Mayor Armstrong, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks very much. Just wanted to point out, because I'm not sure when this was decided, but the report clearly states that the structure would be for day use only, no buildings or structures or lighting, and that there would be no amplification of sound. I understand this may expedite the approval that we're looking at, but it also limits functionality of the space because it can't be used at night. Now, night doesn't come until after 9 o'clock or 8 o'clock in the summer, but it also means that bands or whatever can't use amps. So I just wondered if I could get a little, and I realize that could be something that's added in the future, but so we have this conflict where it helps us get the approval and move forward, but it also limits the functionality of the amphitheater. So I just wondered if somebody could speak to that, please.
Yeah, I'm not sure who would like to speak to them.
Mr. Mayor, I'll respond to that. In part, again, this is part of my planning consideration of the application, of which I've really only been involved, since it was submitted in the last month or so. But in discussion with the parks manager, in my review of the noise study, and I accept that lack of amplification or lighting maybe represents some limitations. Discussion with the parks manager, as well as my own sort of more anecdotal experience with facilities like this, is that my own opinion is that a facility like this will be used in accessory manner to the hall. And so, when it comes to amplification, whether it's DJ or band or things like that, it's in my view, it's more likely that those types of events would occur in the hall, just because that's a facility that's set up to accommodate as not only the nature of that use, but it has a roof and it's indoors, so it's more accommodating that way. So that's my response to the deputy mayors.
Okay. Any further comments or questions?
No, I mean, that's a valid response, Chris, because the hall is there. But, I guess I was envisioning that we would be expanding our offerings to the public by having an outdoor space that we could use for theater, concerts, other things like that. So for right now, I'm very comfortable with what we're proposing, but I guess I was hoping for a little more.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And Deputy Mayor, Councillor Braber, would like to have a comment.
Thanks, through you, Mayor. Thanks for your question, Deputy Mayor. Myself and our Public Works Supervisor, Dylan Kosh, as well as neighbors to the proposed Lower Bowl development, we have collaborated with one another. And I'll just point out the spirit of the development. And I know there was some issue from the onset when it was being referred to as an amphitheater. And it seems that word seems to keep creeping into certain reports and that sort of thing. So it is not intended to be an amphitheater. The spirit of that Lower Bowl development was as a trailhead for the development of the Lakehurst trails. I think the thoughts of having an amphitheater and all that was just born out of, hey, we can do this, we can do that. Well, that's not the spirit. And in myself and the Lakehurst Hall Board had met with the immediate neighbors on, I believe, 3 occasions, and I've been over to their properties on several other occasions in the past year and a half when this has been proposed. So I see it. I see the use. Yes, it's an extension of our Lakehurst Hall, and it does allow now, if this moves forward and it does get developed, it allows for outdoor activities associated with the hall, obviously in summertime. Seeing that the hall is basically a hall and a parking lot. Now it potentially has now an open space to act in, two ways as far as a trailhead as well as an outdoor space for the Lakehurst Hall. And where we've landed in this report and that was a collaboration between the municipality, myself, Dylan Kosh, our parks supervisor, and the immediate neighbors. Having gone out to the site many times, the board, Lakehurst Hall board, was in agreement with this proposed report, and they in fact were part of that collaboration between the neighbors and the hall board. So that's basically how it sort of came to fruition, and the intent for it. The intent wasn't to have concerts and whatnot. The intent, proposed could be an educational, wildlife. People can come and do presentations, which would not require amplification. They can sit and they can just, speak. It's not a huge area, so it would not require amplification. And saying that because it's not a huge area, I don't think any type of amplification above, having concerts and whatnot, I don't think that's feasible.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Braybrick, for your wonderful long-winded reply.
Appreciate that. Have a lot of wind. Yes.
Okay, any other comments or questions regarding this item? Go ahead, please come to the podium and state your name for the record. And
you guys covered, or John, you covered a lot of it for me already, but I'm gonna save going off script here. I'll read everything I got. Well, my name is Bill Bodnarek, and actually I'm here to oppose the bylaw change of 255 Lakehurst Circle, as per the letter I received July 28th. As John stated, we live directly east of the property and our house is 12 feet from the property line. That's why we don't want amplified music and concerts. If you live next door, 12 feet away, you wouldn't want it either. We discussed the noise and privacy issues during our last meeting. John has agreed that there had been no stage, lights, or amplified sound, and it would be daytime use only. He crossed out the word amphitheater, and that keeps getting brought up because of this amplified music. Maybe down the road, that's an amphitheater. We don't want an amphitheater. The proposed new zoning paperwork states that minimum interior side yard setback on the east lot line is 10 meters. Can you please confirm what this means?
I think Chris, you could probably speak to that.
Mr. Mayor, that would be the linear distance from the lot line to the edge of the event facility or amphitheater facility.
So 30 feet from my property line could be the stage or the seating area?
Seating, I believe the seating.
That's a little close, 30 feet away from my property line. I have 150 people sitting, watching my house. 30 feet?
Yeah, I don't have the.
That's not.
Maybe if we could just continue and I'll get out that site plan and
okay.
Scale that and try to get you an answer to that.
Okay, also there's a public park is mentioned and we have had no conversation regarding this. Can you elaborate on that?
So let me I just want to open the draft bylaw. Just bear with me.
Mr. Mayor.
Yep, go ahead, Councilor Ray.
Well, Chris, while you're looking at your documentation, if anybody's been out there, like 30 feet from the property line would cut into that proposed area quite a bit. It's not like we're dealing with a width of 500 feet that we could accommodate a seating area, a respite area. So, I mean, 30 feet, to me, that would cut right into, if we were to move it 30 feet or further, that would alter the design.
Shouldn't be there anyways. It's out in the middle of the country.
Yeah.
It's not a farming community and it's going.
Make sure your
bringing
comments and
energy.
questions go through the chair, please.
Sorry.
It's not a conversation.
I'm new to this. Yeah,
Yeah, well, no, that's fine. No, I'm just making sure we're all aware that both ways.
Okay, sure.
Okay, Chris, you have some update?
Yeah, so Mr. Mayor, the comprehensive zoning bylaw defines a public park as a public facility that accommodates a broad manner of public uses, arenas and facilities and all that type of thing. And so part of what I've suggested through this zone exception is that a quote public park would be a permitted use, but then the the definition of a public park for the purpose of this property only would be comprised of open space trails, washroom, and storage buildings. So it's intended to be sort of a limiting version of the definition of public park, so that it's sort of less open-ended, if you will.
Okay. Okay, another question is, what will the budget be for the outdoor space? I see some of the money was obtained from the Ontario Trillium Foundation. And what will the estimated maintenance cost be for the outdoor space?
Okay, so more of a budget. Go ahead, Dylan Kosh.
The capital budget for the project is $200,000. And at this time, we don't have any maintenance estimates at this time. It would be minimal grass cutting and gravel screening, trail maintenance.
Okay.
Public water, portable washroom, pump outs, and treatment.
Okay, are we expecting another tax increase because of this, what's going up? Because of maintenance and everything else? Mine gone up 5% in 2024 and 5.2% in 2025. Just wondering if it's going to affect everybody's taxes now because of this.
I think we've budgeted for all of that and we've got a grant for some of it, so I don't think that affects directly our next budget cycle because
When you
most of
apply
that
for
money
the
is.
grant, I guess I speak to you.
Yeah.
When you applied for the grant, was it in the grant that it was going to be an amphitheater or was it a trailhead? That's what I'd like to know what the government.
Not sure what that said in the grant. I'm not sure anybody. Go ahead, Dylan. Maybe you could answer that.
Through you, Mayor, it was presented as the concept as the amphitheater.
Okay. So with regards to Lakehurst Hall, it appears the proposed budget for 2025 was $33,000. We noticed that the hall is underused. And do they contribute to their own expenses? Like when they rent out, does that go to an expense or does that just go into the big slush fund or whatever you want to call it? Who pays, like, the money they make from the rentals and where does that money
go ahead, Dylan. You can.
Through you, Mayor. The municipality and the operating hall board has an agreement or a memorandum of understanding that, where the municipality is responsible for building maintenance, capital projects. The hall board takes care of operational things such as cleaning, putting on the events for the community, and various regular hall upkeep, and that's what their revenue source goes towards funding.
Okay. And also another question, is the hall property zoned for overnight rentals?
I think because it's a hall in a public place, I think it is. But I would have to ask our planner that question. I'm not sure.
I'd just like to know that because there's been a couple of times there where people have stayed the weekend in the hall for the whole weekend. Groups. I just wondered if there's a license to have
for that
for
question.
that.
We'll try to get some clarification on that.
Okay, I live right next door. I see all the
Yeah.
stuff going on, eh?
Yeah.
I know the coming and going. Okay. The bylaw document that you were referring to under permitted uses, section B, special regulations for uses permitted in section 18.4.3.1 includes the word amphitheater. Can this be removed from your signage here? When we sign, if you sign this off today, it says amphitheater.
Mhm.
Now we're discussing it. We're trying to get that word out of there apparently.
Okay. We can ask that of I don't know if we can remove that easily. Remove amphitheater and put something.
Well, it's been
different.
talked from day one, every meeting.
Yeah.
So it shouldn't even be there.
So, Mr. Mayor,
Yes, go ahead, Chris.
chime in on that one. Again, in taking the information as it's been given to me and the site plan as it's been given to me, and this includes the noise study, and I've not avoided the use of the term amphitheater. Having said that, I think in my report, as well as in the ZBA, the nature of the use is outdoor event space and amphitheater. So I'm really just intending to be, I guess, clear with respect to the nature of the use, and certainly when I look at the site plan. I mean, and I don't expect this to be necessarily reassuring, but all amphitheaters are not equal. I mean, this is not the Budweiser stage by any stretch. But in answer to the question, from a zoning perspective, I wouldn't have an issue removing that word amphitheater. Again, as long as it's very clearly understood that by an outdoor event space, what's really intended is again, a place for weddings and gatherings, presentations, plays, that type of thing. So if that language is if we need to incorporate that, then I'm comfortable with that. But yeah, the use of the word or the inclusion of the word amphitheater does not have to be manifested in the final ZBA.
Okay.
Thank you.
Just wondering too, where is the public park or the washrooms, storage buildings, where are they going to be located? Like a public washroom, I don't know where that's going to be.
Yeah, I think we'll be
Will I be able to
further down the
use it?
line,
Like,
but
is
I
that
think-
how close it's going to be?
I think Dylan can probably speak to that or the future.
Through you, Mayor. The public washroom would be to support the trailhead, so it would be like a Johnny on the spot type facility. Would be located adjacent to the parking lot.
Okay.
And sorry, also through you, Mayor, there are no plans for storage buildings at this time.
Okay, I got that on here in the word. Also, in the final analysis of the summary here, it said that you've received no comments or concerns about any of this, and I've been complaining for 2 years. So I don't know where that came from. I read that in the report as well. There's been no concerns.
So, Mr. Mayor, I'll just quickly respond to that.
Please.
I prepared the report on August 1st, and what I'm referring to are comments and concerns that were raised through the 20-day Planning Act statutory period. I'm not discounting that. Again, there's been prior discussions, but I haven't been party to any of those discussions or
Okay, well, I just found that false, that's all, because that's not true at all. John would address that. John's been awesome. He calls me back all the time. Never have a problem corresponding with him anyways.
Okay.
That's all I've got to say, I think.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Bill.
Okay, thanks for giving me
bringing your
time.
Comments to our attention. Thank you. Okay, does anybody have any comments or questions?
I was just through you, Mayor. I was just gonna wonder if Mr. Van Erck had a couple of questions. I don't know if our clerk had written them down. Did you want me to ask Mr. and Mrs. Van Erck to send me an email with the questions that he may have wanted answered? That
Well, I think we have, Chris probably have stuff written down. I think Chris knows what he's looking for.
Okay.
If you would like to do that, you can email each other. I think we're on it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
I also have Bruce Averill online.
Okay.
Bruce, I'm unmuting you now.
okay, Bruce, I think you would like to speak to this item. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor and Council. I guess one of the things that no one's defined so far is what does amphitheater mean? And I think to the neighbor, it means one thing, and maybe a dictionary definition is something different. And for myself, one of the complementary activities to the hall that has been mentioned so far is outdoor weddings. The other is the Youth Performing Arts Group that was started at Lakehurst Hall. And this would be complementary to that because we could have summer theater programs for kids. Theater sort of goes hand in hand with amphitheater. And the intention there is just a performance in front of tiered seating. And as has been stated, with no amplification. So I guess I'm in favor of the development. There have been a number of people, I believe, that have sent emails to development@trentlakes.ca in support of this facility. It's clear that grant funding is covering the cost of this. Neighbors have been spoken to frequently, and that outdoor space, Lakehurst Hall has developed that hall over time, taken out a general store, put in a parking lot, upgraded the facility, and now there's a big area that should be used to benefit the hall. And this is the development we're speaking of. So I'm in support of it. I think the neighbors have been spoken to, and enough concessions granted to them that there should be no reason we cannot go ahead and approve the zoning bylaw amendment.
Okay, thank you very much for your comments, Bruce Afra. Any other comments or questions? For either physical gallery or a virtual gallery? Does council have any more questions? I'm seeing none. My view of an amphitheater is not amped music, it's the shape of it kind of naturally amplifies your voice. I don't think it's an amp as in an amp. Go ahead, Councillor Franz.
Yeah, through you, Mayor, I'd like to just make a comment that amphitheaters are over 3,000 years old. They were the word comes from the Greek, where they used a grounds area with outside seating for entertainment purposes. And I'm sure there was no thought of application in those days.
Go ahead. You can come back up and speak if you would like. No, thank you.
Yes, regarding Bruce calling here and talking about the amplified sound and whatever. I know the guy from Cambrian was here. I think he's here somewhere. Somebody said the guy from Cambrian who did the sound.
Noise study person. Yeah, I don't know if you're still here.
She's on the computer.
Oh, online? Yes.
Okay, anyways, I got all the reports. There's 160 pages.
Yes.
And I went through them. And most of them said very significant at sound levels, no acoustic. You got all. Yeah, okay. Just letting Bruce know this and
okay. Well,
yeah.
Thank
and
you.
the amphitheater too, when this first came about 2 years ago, what I heard was from council or Bruce, was this is to be the Massey Hall of Lakehurst. So what do they do at Massey Hall? I'm just saying, that's what we think. I know what amphitheater means.
Yeah.
The first thing I think about is loud music.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you for your comments. Okay, any further comments or questions? I'm seeing none. We can move on now to item 7 of our agenda, which is business arising out of our statutory public meeting. I would entertain a motion to reconvene our regular meeting. Everyone's prepared to make that motion. Councillor Cadigan for a mover, Councillor Franzen for a seconder. I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion is carried. We are back in our regular council meeting. So we can now move on to item 7.1, and I believe Adele Arbor, our planner, would like to speak to this item, please.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, it's being recommended that if council is in agreement with the analysis of Chris Jones's report, we are recommending that council receive the report from the planner for official plan amendment number 63 and zoning bylaw amendment file number 25-07, and that council adopt official plan amendment 63 and direct staff to forward it to the county of Peterborough for review and final approval. And lastly, that council direct the planning department to prepare a site plan agreement for the proposed marine storage facility, and subsequent to the execution of the site plan agreement by the applicant and the approval of the OPA by the county of Peterborough, that staff bring forward a zoning bylaw amendment for council's review and consideration.
Okay, thank you very much, Adele Arbor. Does anyone on council have any comments or questions? Deputy Mayor Armstrong.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Lamson. Couple of comments. I mean, this has been very helpful at this public meeting to air and share concerns, and I thank all the proponents for being cooperative and willing to listen and where they can, make changes that are appropriate. I'm just feeling that there are still a few points outstanding. We never did get confirmation around 15% coverage. I'm not sure we've had a complete dismissal of the idea that we could do a severance. Because to me, what's outstanding is the concern about real estate values that will be impacted by this. And I don't know if there is a way to do both. You know, clearly there's support for the expansion, that nobody's opposing it. It's just a question of how we do it, and is there a way to do it such that we don't negatively impact real estate values. So I'm just feeling that we may not have fully considered all the options to do that. Again, I don't want to delay this. There's support for it. We want them to move ahead, but I'm just feeling there are a few loose ends here.
I think we're entering into a site plan agreement, but go ahead, Adele. I think you would like to speak to that.
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor. The application before council is what we heard today, what the proposal is. And in terms of the 15%, we are not presenting a zoning bylaw amendment today for council's consideration. And I don't believe, and Chris Jones could verify, but those kind of numbers are not into the official plan amendment. We're just dealing with a policy for the use of that property. A zoning bylaw amendment will come later, as we suggested, once the site plan agreement is approved, and then we bring forward the zoning bylaw amendment. And that time we will confirm what that percentage would be in the zoning. In terms of council providing some further direction in terms of a severance to protect the value of residential lands, that's not before council today. What the request is that this property be rezoned and designated to support the proposal, which is these 2 storage buildings. So I caution council in making some further direction to the applicant, which is not before council today.
Thank you very much.
Just further clarification,
Yeah,
if I may mention. So could a severance be considered at the time of the zoning bylaw amendment when it comes before council?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that's not possible. The application before you is to rezone that portion of land for the 2 storage buildings.
Answer your question?
Kind of, I'm feeling a bit trapped. I'm feeling like I can either decline the application, which I certainly don't want to do. It's again, supportive, everybody's supportive of the expansion. So I can either approve it as is, and we no longer have an opportunity to consider, I use that word, consider a severance, or, we decline it, which delays everything. So I'm feeling really boxed in by that. I'd like a way for us to be able to consider a severance to meet everybody's needs.
I'm not sure if could be some restrictions or some ideas put forth to the proponent at the site plan agreement stage to have a buffer zone that's there, that's permanent. I'm not sure if that's an ability that planning has, and that would have to be something that you would want to agree to.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that is quite correct. Site plan agreement is between the property owner and the municipality. There is no opportunity for the public to object to a site plan agreement, but it's something that's negotiated, and having the property owners hear the concerns of the public, perhaps there could be some restrictions placed in the site plan agreement only if the applicant is agreeable to that.
Okay. They're all neighbors in there. They seem to get along, so there may be some ability to protect the 3 lots that are directly affected in the future. Councillor Franley, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we use the recommendations that were given to us by our planner, the recommended motion.
Okay, do I have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Braybert for a second. Any further conversation? Councillor Braybert, go ahead.
I just wanted to do a little short, give my ration shorter. Well, I'll give the respect to the people that showed up here. So the homeowners' comments are appreciated and noted. Many of the questions have been answered by the applicants and municipal planner. As our mayor has stated, any future consideration, whether it be consideration for severance and that sort of thing, would have to go through the planning applications process. This may be moot because the 15% max development has been reached, so to speak. Also noting the comments from homeowners as to the scale of the storage proposed is noted by me. The applicants have boats and have stated that there will not be any expansion of, there won't be any more boats. And in fact, it's by building these storage units or storage unit currently, as they stated, they're diverting hundreds of pounds of shrink wrap as well as antifreeze by having proposed heated storage for the existing boats. And I guess the way I'm looking at it, and I appreciate the homeowners' comments, the access to the cottages, and I've had family that's lived on those in years past, does, transect right through the existing commercial business. So it's not, and I understand the values and that sort of thing. I used to do real estate myself, and I appreciate not the experience that Mr. Aarons has, but I just think it's the homeowners that are there, given that the 15% has already been reached. I don't think there's any reason to deal with any other sort of items as our planner has stated, other than the ones that are recommended here. So I second it with those comments.
Okay, do I have any further comments from members of council? I'm seeing none. I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. Okay, we can now move on to item 7.2 of our agenda. Adele Arbor, our planner, would you like to speak to this item?
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Mayor, if council is agreement with the analysis of the report of Mr. Jones, it's being recommended that council receive the report from the planner for zoning bylaw amendment file number 25-11, and that council approve the zoning bylaw amendment file number 25-11.
Okay, thank you very much, Adele. Anyone have any comments or questions regarding that file? I see none. Is anyone prepared to make a motion? Councilor Braver, go
I'll
ahead.
make a motion to receive and that council approve zoning bylaw amendment file number 25-11.
Do I have a seconder for that motion? I see Councilor Cadigan for a seconder. Any further conversation regarding that file? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. Okay, we can move on to item 7.3 of our agenda. And Adele Arbor, our planner, would you like to speak to this item as well, please?
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Mayor, the recommendation is council is in agreement with the analysis of the report. It was recommended that council receive the report from the planner for zoning bylaw amendment file 25-12. And the second recommendation is that council approve the zoning bylaw amendment application. However, given the comments that were provided by the public this afternoon, I think it's prudent for staff to go back and revisit some of the comments that are made and relook at the draft zoning bylaw amendment that we had before council, and we bring it back to you once we've done some revisions, taking in the comments from the public.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Adele. Any conversation? Council have any questions or comments? Councilor Franzen, go ahead.
I'll make a motion to defer. Is there any timetable for you, Mayor, when it should be brought back to council?
Okay, Adele.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I don't think it'll take very much time, and I hope to have it before council at the next meeting.
Councilor Braver, go ahead.
Thank you. Before I
need a
second anything, yeah, I can second it and then have a conversation.
Yep.
I'll second it. With all due respect to the experience of our planner and whatnot, the report, I believe, lays out in alleviates any sort of concerns that our neighbors do have. And they've been addressed in the report. I don't support deferring it. And one of the reasons was I just mentioned, and another reason is we do have a grant that's attached to this development. And I just don't want to jeopardize the grant being pulled because of delays. So that's my main reason is if we do delay it, we have a chance. Now, our parks supervisor can provide more comment to that, but from my understanding is it's already been extended once. And to keep going back to the trough of saying, can we defer it? Eventually that money has to be spent somewhere in the province. And I would like to, that's almost $200,000, as Mr. Bodnarik has mentioned, that, it's cost to the taxpayers, which I am one of them. So I think the report is extensive enough and it's provided enough protections in place. And I support the recommendations as stated in the report.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other comments or questions regarding that? I think it's behooving on me to call for a vote and see if we have support to defer or not. So I will call for the vote.
We get a recorded vote. Can we do that?
Yeah, I think you still have time. Yeah. Okay. I've already called for the vote.
Okay.
Do you need to record a vote?
No, not on this one. No.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, go ahead.
I'm willing to withdraw my motion.
Oh, yeah, okay. So then maybe we could present a different motion. Councilor Braber, go ahead.
Thank you. Motion that council receive the report and that council approve the attached zoning bylaw amendment.
Do I have a seconder? I see Councilor Cadigan for a seconder. Oh, sorry, Deputy Mayor, sorry. You got your hand up first. Does anyone have any comments or questions? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. Okay, we can move on now to item 8 of our agenda, which is presentations, which we have none. And item 9 of our agenda is delegations, and 9.1 is Richard Raycraft. Richard, would you like to come to the podium and please give us your delegation?
Just a couple of questions for process here. Should I assume everyone has read the documentation?
Absolutely.
That's on the agenda?
Yep.
Okay,
Thank you
so
very much.
I won't take time for people to go through that. Maybe you could put up the survey, the revised survey document. And I just want to say that I think the staff report was very thorough and technically very accurate. I don't have any concerns about that. The conclusions that are drawn, in our reading of it at least, it seemed that the recommendation of staff to deny the purchase of this closed up road allowance was based on the possibility at some point in the future where it might provide significant public access to waterfront, and also the concern that it could create a precedent for other similar ones, that it would be hard to deny, future requests for purchasing this closed up road allowances that provided water access. And our concern was that it's really not a very practical use for future access to the water. And the staff report refers to some issues with doing that. And the second one is that it is a fairly unique situation in that that I think would justify doing something different. And that's that of the, I think, 7 or 8 other ones within 1.5 kilometers of road allowances that could provide access to waterfront. This is the only one where the property is completely isolated from any developed road. It shows this is the property here. This is the current property line. And then if you can table that down just a little bit, the actual developed road is up here. Okay, so the property here has no connection with the developed road. This is our driveway here that's been in place since 1978 when the construction of this building that's here was permitted. So that provides something unique. As mentioned in the application, the concerns that we have in purchasing this is, well, it would give us final ownership of a connection to the developed road. We are concerned, we heard earlier, the concerns about water in the future, the lake quality water. And we have, because of the configuration of the property here, we can't have a well, okay? We use lake water and we treat it, and that's working at the present time for sure. It's pointed out by the staff report. We had a well driller come in and say, the only place on the property is about here in the road allowance, actually, where you could have a potential well. And we're very tight here with our septic weak bed to the road allowance, and had to get special permission to build a weeping bed when that was put in about 2002. Anyway, that's, unless there's any questions or comments, those are the only points we wanted to make.
Okay, thank you very much for bringing this to our attention, Richard. Does anybody on council have any comments or questions? Go ahead, Councillor Cadigan, go ahead.
Through you, Mayor, I'm not familiar with that area. What is below? What's that road allowance going to?
There is a map that was included in the staff report that shows this is actually a point. This is Little Bald Lake, and this is on what used to be Neighbush Island. There's a peninsula causeway that was built. Here we are. Here's the peninsula causeway that was built here. This is our property here. Okay.
So it's just going to water.
Yes, this is, it's just going to water. It goes from here to there. And there are other road allowances similarly in various places in the area. And then if you move this down, there is an active right up here. There's this area here that's it's a boat launch and access to open water area here. And just as a side at the bottom, it's not really pertinent to this particular question today, but if the strategy of maintaining all these different road allowances as municipal property with the idea of at some point using some of them to provide access to the public to water, to waterfront space. This was set up in what, 2011, I think, the bylaw that I've seen. If that's been effective in the meantime in providing significant access to water frontage, then that's great. If it hasn't, another strategy might be to think about selling some of these and using that capital to develop spaces like this that would be suitable into a sort of a mini Sandy Lake kind of area where there's already a boat launch and things like that. That would be another strategy, but then that's just a consideration for the future for our council.
Thank you very much
other questions
for your comments. Does anyone have any comments or questions? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Thanks very much for that. Does anybody use that on open road allowance for access currently?
No, I mean, we bought the property in 1994, and there's been no significant use of it in that period of time. We maintain it. There was a lot of cleanup after the ice storm, as you can imagine, just to keep our driveway clear, and so on. So,
okay.
Anyway.
Thank you.
Okay, any
Okay.
further questions?
Okay. Now, just another question of procedure from our point of view. I don't know, we're hoping to drive back to Burlington this afternoon. Is there any, should we stay for the final vote on this or?
You probably don't have to because we're back in our non-public meeting, so probably won't have any questions for you after your delegations.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Appreciate your consideration.
Thank you very much, Richard,
And,
for
thank you.
doing your delegation. Appreciate it. Okay. I would entertain a motion to receive that delegation. Deputy Mayor Armstrong, the mover. Councillor Cadigan for a seconder. Any further conversation about the delegation? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. Okay. Thank you very much for your delegation, Richard. We can move on now to item 10 of our agenda, which is staff reports. 10.1 is public works. We have none. 10.2 is recreation and facilities. We have none. 10.3 is fire and emergency services. We have none. 10.4 is building and planning. We have none. 10.5 is finance. 10.5.1, Donna Taggart, our CAO treasurer. Would you like to speak to this item, please?
Yes, thank you, and through you. So before you is a report relating to the 2025 budget spending to June 30th, and also a 2026 budget timeline for proposed. So as of June 30th, overall budget spending was sitting at 31.73%, and spending at the water systems was 45.08%. There is a summary for you on between pages 41 and 47, showing you overall spending. And the recommended budget timeline has also been outlined in the report, which starts with public feedback between September and October. There will be a special meeting to discuss the budget November 17th, 2025, and the final budget would be passed by February 2026. So therefore, I am looking for council to receive the report and also approve the 2026 budget timeline as recommended. And I'm happy to answer any questions regarding spending to date, as well as the recommended budget timeline for 2026. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Donna Taggart, our CAO treasurer. Would anyone have any comments or questions for Donna? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Armstrong.
Yes, thanks, Mayor Lamson. Thanks, Donna. When I see these, I'm always looking at exceptions, year-to-date variances that are larger than expected. And there were 3 on the revenue side and 1 on the expense side that caught my attention. On the revenue side, our shoreland sales are, budget of 60,000, the actual 0. Our bank account interest was budgeted at 600, we're only at 203. And on building permits, the revenue for that, sorry, wrong mouse here. We budgeted for 553, we're only at 172. So I wondered if you could speak to those, because it looks like we're not going to meet our budget. Are there other offsetting revenues for that? And, are you concerned? If you're not concerned, I'm not concerned, but they did pop up as exceptions.
Right. So thank you, and through you. So the shoreline sales, obviously when we budget annually, we look at historical values, and they are down this year, and it is very hard to control if we receive applications for those. So we have not received any to date. The bank account interest, when we budget that as well, the rate was higher and it's been reduced a couple of times. The amount that's showing in that GL currently is for February, March, April, May, and June. So we do still have some months to go. So we would anticipate collecting probably another 250,000 in interest for the rest of the year. But yes, it is going to come under budget, most certainly. Once again, it was hard to predict the reductions in the rate, and we look at historical numbers for that. So as far as the building permits, and we speak to that in the quarterly report, the number of permits is up slightly, but the value of the permits is down most certainly. And that seems to be something that's happening in other areas as well. It's just the permits that are being taken out are not of a huge value. They're more decks and that type of thing. And, there is some speculation that could be due to increased costs for tariffs, that type of thing, some hesitancy there. But once again, when we budget annually, it's all, a prediction, and we do the best we can. So overall, when we have spending at this stage of 31.73% or at the end of June, I'm not concerned. But yes, that would be the reasoning for that.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you,
Deputy Mayor.
Don. And I'm not criticizing the budgeting process. I understand that. My bigger concern was we are where we are now. And it looks like there'll be a shortfall of around $200,000 in revenue in just those 3 line items. Will it be offset with either other revenues or lower expenses? And well, I think we'll see that in an outlook later, at a later point. And the one concern on the expense side, and it's really no longer a concern thanks to some work that you and Jesse have done, but is on the legal side, because we clearly are involved in a number of legal actions. And I just wondered, and sometimes those bills coming in are delayed. So we don't really see the full picture until the end of the year. So are you at all concerned about our legal expenses year to date?
Great. Thank you, and through you. The answer in the building and planning department, the OLT legal, for instance, would be yes, for sure. There is some concern that that will be over. Other departments aren't seeing as much spending as those two. There have been some significant files there. There is a legal reserve that the municipality has we could draw from if we needed to. But the bottom line is the current legal provider, costs are up for that. And that was the same as last year. So one of those things we'll continue to monitor for sure, and hope. Once again, it's hard to predict what files will be coming forward and need reviewed, but other departments are okay, but certainly building and planning has seen some costs that are reflected in the report.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much, Donna.
Okay, anybody else have any comments or questions? Councilor Braber, go ahead.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Just one quick question under grants, where it shows grant subsidies, 777,700. Are they all from the province, within the province, or is there any?
Through you. Could you go to that line? And
Sorry.
that, please? I'm not sure which
Page
line
one.
for sure.
Page 4 in the report, page 1, but page 4 in the.
Oh, right. Okay, so that is that is the OMPF grant that we receive annually, and that is a provincial grant, unconditional provincial grant that we receive. So we receive several payments a year to get to the amount. We will get that amount that's budgeted for. That's the guaranteed amount. It's just that it comes throughout the year in various stages.
Just one follow-up. So that's guaranteed?
Through you,
by the
yes,
province? Okay.
yes.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments or questions? No, thank you very much, Donna. Is anyone prepared to make a motion? No, we're not today. Councilor Braber, go ahead.
Motion to receive.
Do I have a seconder for that one? Councilor Franzen for, Deputy Mayor Armstrong for a seconder.
But also approving the 2026 budget timetable as part of that motion.
Okay. Yeah, is recommended. Okay, perfect. Do I have no, I think we got a mover and a seconder. I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion is carried. Thank you very much, Donna Taggart. We can move on to 10.6 of our agenda, which is administration. 10.6.1 is Donna Taggart, our CAO treasurer. Would you like to speak to this item, please?
Thank you, and through you. So after a full HR policy review undertaken by Harbor, which is formerly SHRP, there were some recommended changes to 3 policies, including the respect in the workplace, technology code of conduct, and use of prescribed substances. So changes in the policies have been highlighted in red for your information. And just as a summary, under the respect in the workplace policy, there were new definitions added to recognize that harassment and violence can occur in both the physical and digital environments, and that both of these are treated the same as far as seriousness goes. Definitions for workplace and sexual harassment have been updated to include behaviors through IT technology, and the definition of virtual harassment has been updated to include online and virtual intimidation. Under the Technology Code of Conduct, a section has been added on cybersecurity to protect digital assets, and privacy and protocols were updated to protect the use of municipal networks and reporting for actual or suspected breaches of security. Under the Prescribed Substances Policy, Section 9 was updated to specify safety-sensitive roles for drug and alcohol testing. And therefore, today, I'm looking for council to receive the update for information and that the policies be approved as amended. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Donna Taggart. Anyone have any comments or questions? This meeting lasts much longer. I might need some of them prescribed substances.
Motion to receive.
Thank you, Councilor Franzen, for a motion to receive. And do I have a seconder for that motion? Deputy Mayor Armstrong for a seconder?
With a question?
Absolutely, go right ahead.
Thank you. Not relevant to the approval of this, but these things keep changing. How does staff know?
It's a wonderful question. Sorry.
I can't keep track of it myself.
Yes.
So how do they know?
Yes, so through you. So when these were received, they were circulated to the managers. And I understand probably through the process of file hold, if it's my understanding, these would go to all of staff. No, they would not. No, okay, so we will commit to it. They have been through the managers for review, so we would rely on the managers to pass that along, but I'll make sure that that information gets out. And just to clarify, we would be looking for council to approve the amended changes, not just receive.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
I was going to bring that up.
Thank you.
Is the motion as recommended, not just receiving it, but to approve the policies attached, appendixes 1, 2, and 3 be approved as amended. Okay, and you're okay with that as a seconder?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Thank you.
perfect.
Thank you.
I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. Thank you very much, Donna. We can move
Thank you.
on now to item 10.6.2 of our agenda. We'll get somebody different to talk. Donna Taggart, our CEO treasurer. Please speak at a
Just
time.
read these out, sorry. So thank you and through you. So before you is the Q2 report for 2025. You will see, and I say this every time, that operations continue to be very busy. So just a highlight for you, the financial reporting shows the budget spending, which we've already talked about today. There were 7,675 final tax bills produced during Q2. There were 2 purchasing awards made in Q2 for legal services and surface treatment and the procurement of a sign strategy. There are now 1,339 subscribers to the e-newsletter with 59 added and 7,297 website views, which is up just over 15,000 from Q2 in 2024. There was an increase in the number of building permits issued, but there has been a decrease in the fees as discussed. Staff received 53 new short-term rental accommodation registrations for a total of 68 applications being reviewed under the program. And during Q2, 48 were registered. I can give you an update. Since then, we now have 80 applications received for the short-term rental registration program and 58 have been registered. So for overall, there were 28 septic permits issued in Q2 with fees collected of just over 33,000. Fire and emergency services call volumes remain high with 292 incidents during Q2, up 22 from 2024, taking 2,856 hours. Both public education and training hours were up with 14 firefighters and 14 office staff passing several NFPA certified courses. Overall, there were 301.56 tons of garbage taken in, which is down about 17 tons from Q2 2024. 100% of the capital road work for gravel, microsurfacing, hot mixed asphalt have now been completed with 60% of the surface treatment now finished as well. There were 464 work orders completed by rec and facility staff, taking 1,062 hours. Recreation and facilities staff successfully cleaned up all the properties from the ice storm prior to their busiest time of the year. And under green initiatives, there were 125 mattresses collected during the mattress event and the purchase of underground organic collection containers for the Bob Cajun transfer station. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Donna Taggart. Anyone have any comments or questions for Donna? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Armstrong.
Thank you very much. First, let me preface this by saying a lot of work has been done in the last quarter. And thank you for these stats. I think it shows the dedication of our staff and the hard work that they've done. I do have one I want to just focus on, sort of silly given the array of things that are going on, but we've got 42 building permits waiting for further information. I know we're very short staffed. We had a backlog to begin with. I don't know if the question is in scope, but the question is, where are we in terms of processing building permits?
Right. So thank you, and through you. That one I don't know if I can answer. We do have a new chief building official starting with the municipality September 2nd. But I can get answers from staff. I don't have anybody from that department here at the moment to answer that, but we can certainly give you.
I appreciate that. And I apologize for springing that question on you, but seeing that number, I think we should take a look at that. And if you could get back to us, just let us know kind of.
I think Adele wants to speak a little bit.
Somebody's going to venture forward and attempt this.
Story.
Oh, good stuff.
Thank you. Reviewer of building permits for planning to ensure that they are in compliance with the zoning bylaw. It was only last week that I was caught up with all the planning reviews of the permits that we had outstanding. So now they're coming in. I have about 6. They've revised their drawings and have submitted them in. So I believe for the planning review for the municipality, I only have 6 outstanding ones. The rest are with RSL.
Okay, thank you. Awesome. Great news.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thanks, Adele.
It's raining.
It's raining out. I'm just going to leave for 5 minutes. I'll be right back.
Yeah. Oh, thank goodness.
Oh my gosh. We need that. Okay. Now I'm completely distracted. Did we get a motion? Okay. So I would entertain a motion. Would anyone be prepared to make a motion?
I'll make the motion to receive that excellent report.
And do we have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Cadigan for a seconder. Any further conversation about the Q2 summary reporting? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. Thank you very much, Donna Taggart. Now we can move on to item 10.7 of our agenda, which is corporate services. 10.7.1, Jesse Clark, our Director of Corporate Services and Clerk. Would you like to speak to this item, please?
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Lambshead, the applicants for this file are requesting to purchase an unopened road allowance to provide a location for a potential well, simplify the management of the septic system, and to connect their property with an unopened or with an open road allowance as outlined earlier in the agenda through Mr. Raycraft's delegation. The sale of this unopened road allowance would not be in accordance with the policy, as it does say that road allowances that provide access to water will be retained in municipal ownership and available to the public. This request was circulated to all municipal departments, and generally departments were supportive of retaining this land in municipal ownership as detailed further in the report. The policy does go on to state that prior to considering the closure of any road allowance, if the road allowance does provide existing or potential public access to a lake or river by leading to the water's edge, council must be satisfied that there is adequate alternate public access to the water body in proximity to the road allowance to be closed. Staff have reviewed maps of the area to determine other public access opportunities in the Little Bob Lake area. However, have not visited these to determine the viability of access to the water. This unopened road allowance, however, does appear to provide reasonable access to the water. There is a boat launch in relative proximity to the land on Northern Avenue. Recognizing the applicant's interest in obtaining this property must be balanced with the overall intention of the policy and benefits to the public. Staff recommend that council deny the application to purchase this unopened road allowance.
Okay, thank you very much, Jesse Clark. Does anyone on council have any comments or questions? Deputy Mayor Armstrong, go ahead.
Yeah, I would actually like to put forward a motion to receive and to approve the application. I don't know if you want me to talk about the rationale for that or after it's seconded.
Well, we'll see if we get a seconder.
There you go.
Do we have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Cadigan for a seconder.
Yeah, thank you.
Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Armstrong.
The rationale is that our clerk's absolutely right. You weigh the benefits of this to the landowner and to the municipality. And for the reasons that were stated, the well, their septic system and access to the developed road, I'm persuaded that the benefit to the property owner is greater than any current or future benefit to the municipality. It's not being used as access to the water. It's not likely to be unless it were further developed or some action was taken by the municipality. So in this case, I think the benefit is greater on the homeowner's side to have them purchase this.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Does anyone else have any comments or questions? Councillor Braber, go ahead.
Thank you. I tend to agree and disagree with Deputy Mayor Armstrong's rationale. And the only reason I agree with her, the part that the applicant, it would make his life and his wife's life easier, obviously. But what struck me is one of the comments that Mr. Raycroft himself mentioned, that he offered the suggestion that, the area could be potentially developed into like a sandy beach type area. So he himself is sort of acknowledging that there may be future municipal use. Sorry.
Through you, just to clarify, that was the Northern Avenue boat launch that he was referencing, not the one next to his house.
All right.
Doesn't help my case.
I conclude my comments and I support. Thank you.
Any other comments? I'm always reluctant to eliminate another possible access to the water, but in this location, I think it's better for our lake to not have another boat launch or launching pad or somewhere else for people to get on that lake. It's very restricted in there. There is a lot of other spots that are available. So I certainly think, and this used to be historically an island. So the benefiting people, if we did keep it, would only be the 4 or 5 lots or 10 lots that are on the island. So I tend to believe that Deputy Mayor Armstrong's ideas are sound planning. Thank you. My comment. Any further comments or questions? Councillor Trent, go ahead.
One comment. Since there is a boat launch in the area, I would concur. I could support the motion.
Okay. Any further comments? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. Okay. Now move on to item 10.7.2. Jesse Clark, our Director of Corporate Services, would you like to speak to this item, please?
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Lambshead, for this application, the applicants are requesting to purchase a portion of an unopened road allowance which splits their island property. They are requesting to purchase the land to provide a location for a new cottage which would maintain the 100-foot water yard setback. While it is generally the municipality's policy, that as we heard, that road allowances that provide access to water will be retained in municipal ownership and available to the public, this appears to be an obvious exemption to this provision, as the road allowance bisects the island property and would not be appropriate to retain for public use or for future transportation needs. Staff recommend that council support the application to purchase an unopened road allowance and to proceed with the application process, and advise the applicant they will be responsible for all costs.
Okay, thank you very much, Jesse Clark. Any comments or questions? Go ahead,
Motion to
Councillor
support staff's recommendation.
Okay, we do have a seconder for that. I see Councillor Braber for a seconder. Any further conversations? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. Thank you very much, Jesse Clark. We can move on now to item 10.7.3 of our agenda. And Jesse Clark, our Director of Corporate Services Clerk, would you like to speak to this item, please?
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Lambshead, the Buckhorn Community Center has submitted an application for events to be held August 16th, 17th, and 20th, and they require a temporary extension to their liquor license to allow service in a defined area adjacent to the community center building. And Belly's Restaurant has submitted an application for a temporary extension to their liquor license to allow for an extended patio for the summer season. Upon receipt of the applications, staff circulated them internally to building and bylaw, planning, and fire departments. No concerns were identified. As there's no formal delegation of authority to staff to approve temporary liquor license extensions, council approval is required, and staff have no concerns with the proposed liquor license extensions for the Festival of Arts and a garden party for the BCC and for Belly's Restaurant for the 2025 patio season, and recommend approval.
Okay, thank you very much, Jesse. Want to have any comments or questions? Councillor Cadigan, go ahead.
Motion the council receive and approve the temporary liquor license and for Popcorn Community Center and Belly's Restaurant.
Okay, do I have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Franzen for a seconder. Any further conversation about the motion? I'm seeing none. I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. Okay, thank you very much, Jesse Clark. We can move on to item 11, which is notices of motion. Does anyone have a notice of motion? I'm seeing none. We can move on to 12, which is correspondence for information. We have none. Item 13 is correspondences for action. We have several. If anybody wants to speak to each item, we can go through them one at a time, or I think there's a couple that need to definitely have some action. So item 13.1, St. Catharines, City of St. Catharines, elect, respect, pledge. Deputy Mayor Armstrong.
Motion to receive.
Perfect. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Graybrook for a seconder. Any further conversation? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. Grey Bruce OPP Detachment Board is item 13.2. Anyone prepared to make a motion or would like to comment on this item? Councillor Graybrook, go ahead.
Thank you. I'd like to put a motion to support this letter and to also mention I will be bringing a similar one forward to our Peterborough County OPP Detachment Board. So I support.
Okay.
And I think it's good that it would be important that the municipality.
Okay, Councillor Cadigan, was that a seconder? Yeah, okay. Any further conversation? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried to support that. Item 13.3 is the Grey Bruce OPP Detachment Board appeal for the Ministry of Solicitor General for review and reform of the provincial offenses system. Would anyone like to speak to that item? Seeing no hands, anyone prepared to make a motion? Go ahead, Councillor Franzen. Motion to receive. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Deputy Mayor Armstrong for a seconder. Any further conversation about that item? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. We will move on to item 13.4 of our agenda, which is Marcus Bryan, the Bass Lake property owner, winter road maintenance request. Would anyone like to speak to that item? Go ahead, Councillor Franzen.
Yeah, I'd like to speak to it. I think that we should get a report from our road superintendent with the recommendation.
Okay. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Deputy Mayor Armstrong for a seconder. Any further conversation about the item? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. Thank you very much. We put that in your more than capable hands. Okay, we can move on to item 13.5 of our agenda, which is Town of Aurora. Opposition to Bill 17, Protect Ontario while building faster and smart. Deputy Mayor Armstrong.
Yeah, a motion to receive that one in 13.6, I believe.
Okay.
Same issue.
Yes, it is. Perfect. Okay. Do I have a seconder? I see Councillor Cadigan for a seconder. Any further conversation about either item? See none, I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. On to 13.7 of our agenda, which is Township of Otonabee South Montreal, Bill C2, Section 17.5, Paragraph 1. Would anyone like to speak to that item?
Motion to receive.
Okay, do I have a seconder for that motion? I see Councillor Braybrook for a seconder. Any further conversation?
Yes.
Councillor Braybrook, go ahead.
Just, I had it up here. Sorry. Bear with me. Mayor's indulgence.
There's not much of it left, but you have what I have.
My only comments to it, I support this resolution with the comment, there are laws and mechanisms currently in place that deal with criminal offenses related to money laundering and through investigations are successfully identified and prosecuted. There seems to be ongoing efforts by the provincial and federal governments to reduce and restrict its citizens' right to privacy and liberty through measures such as this. So I support this resolution in opposition to C2.
Okay, was that the original motion?
Was that-
No, my motion was to
To
receive.
it, okay.
And the reason that I voted to receive is because when you're doing even real estate transactions, you can't take cash as a down payment. When I was in, because right away there would be an investigation.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah,
Councillor
through you,
Weber.
Mayor, to Councillor Franzen. I know the spirit of what you're saying, but there's the application of this, what the government's proposing is everybody. Everybody, not just, I know FinTrack has,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
mechanisms in place. I just think that they're using, the terrorists and that sort of thing and lopping everybody into under one umbrella. There's mechanisms in place, there's laws in place. We don't need more laws to restrict us. I think this is just another way to monitor general citizens' spending, especially in the building, the building industry.
Don't look at me.
I was looking past you.
Okay, thank you. Deputy Mayor Armstrong, go ahead.
Yeah, I would actually second Councillor Franzen's motion to receive, notwithstanding what you said. I just don't understand the issue well enough to feel like I'm educated and informed to support it. So for me, I'm only in a position to receive it.
It's a interesting bill, I can say the least. It certainly will affect some people and their incomes, but some of that's realistic. Okay, we have a mover and a seconder. We've had conversation. I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion failed. Okay, would anybody else be prepared to make a motion? Councilor Braver, go
A
ahead.
motion to support, letter of support.
Okay. I see Councillor Cadigan for a seconder. Any further conversation? I'm seeing none. I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. Okay, we can move on to item 13.8 of our agenda, which is Twin Mountain Snowmobile Club funding request. Would anyone like to speak to that item? Councillor Franklin, go ahead.
We had another snowmobile association that requested funds. What was the amount that we had approved? By any chance?
So through you,
Through me.
2,000.
Yeah.
And I can confirm just that there is $2,515 left in the miscellaneous grant account for the rest of the year, just so council is aware.
Councillor Franklin, go ahead.
But through your merit, I'd like to make a motion that we approve $2,000.
Do I have a seconder for that motion? Deputy Armstrong for a seconder. Oh. All right. Do I have any further conversation? Go ahead, Councillor Braver.
Through you, Mayor. So that were to Donna, our financial guru. The remaining, was it 2,500? Did you say it was remaining? Now,
Yes.
is that for anything that comes forward from this point on, whether it be Christmas baskets or something else? Is that where you would draw from that?
Thank you, and through you. That would be on top of anything that's already been supported by council. Of course, there was some support for community grants for the ELF, Santa ELF, that type of thing already that's been awarded to those organizations. So this would be money that if additional organizations come forward and ask for money, that would be where it would be typically drawn from. So yes, that's why I wanted to make you aware that's what's left in there for the rest of the year.
Thank you.
I think that they do have lots of kilometers of trail systems in our municipality, and they're devastated by the ice storm. They're still allowed to clean up, and I know they could use the help. I don't imagine we could use that for part of our getting money back from the government, but I was hoping it was a yes. I don't know. Okay. All right. Any other conversation? I'm seeing none. I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. Okay, we can move on now to item 14 of our agenda, which is bylaws. We have several bylaws. I think anybody would like to, I think we're going to speak to each one individually, because I think Chris Jones wants to speak to item 14.5 and 14.6 before we talk about them. So we can go to 14.1, road acquisition bylaw. Anyone prepared to make a motion? Councillor Franzen, go ahead.
To approve.
Okay, motion to approve. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Cadigan for a seconder. Any further conversation? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. We can move on to 14.2, which is official plan amendment for Buckland Yacht Harbor. Would anyone be prepared to make a motion? Councillor Brayberg for a mover? Go ahead.
Motion approved.
Okay, Councillor Cadigan for a seconder. Any further conversation? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. We can move on to 14.3, which is zoning bylaw amendment, file number 2511 for Davies. Is anyone prepared to make a motion? Councillor Cadigan for a mover.
Motion to approve.
Okay, okay. Do I have a seconder for the motion to approve? Councillor Franzen for a seconder. Any further conversation? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. We'll move on to item 14.4 of our agenda, which is zoning bylaw amendment 2512 for the Lakehurst Lower Bowl. Would anybody be prepared to make a motion? Oh, that's Dylan put it in. I don't know. Councillor Cadigan for a mover. Motion to approve, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Okay, do I have a seconder? Councillor Brayberg for a seconder. Any further conversation? I'm seeing none. I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion is carried. I might need a minute. Item 14.5, Chris Jones, our external planner. Would you like to speak to this item to give me a second?
Yep, Mr. Mayor, you can hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you very much, Chris. Go ahead.
These are the ARU, OPA, and ZBA. So we had the public meeting last month. Direction that came out of that was twofold: integration of policy. Sorry, I'm referring to Resolution 2025-263 to bring back the OPA and ZBA, subject to integration of policy restricting additional residential units in the shoreline residential zone, subject to planning approval. So the OPA, I have modified in items D and E. So that would be Part B, the amendment. So item D has the prohibition on ARUs on highly sensitive lake trout lakes or moderately sensitive lake trout lakes as defined by our official plan. And then item E has a provision that additional residential units may be permitted in shoreline areas abutting warm water lakes. Again, that's referenced in 5110.9, essentially subject to the criteria of a septic system assessment and an EIS. Now, the other aspect of the resolution was further recommendations concerning ARUs and short-term rentals. It continues to be, I think I speak for the planning department, Adele and I, that if it's council's wish to prohibit ARUs from being used as a short-term rental, that the licensing bylaw is the preferred or mechanism to do that. So the amendment has not been revised to specifically prohibit or speak to that. Sorry, it's been a heavy agenda, as council has seen in terms of the planning side. If that's still something that council would like to see in this amendment, my suggestion would be to give us another couple of weeks and we'll bring it back on September 2nd, the OPA and ZBA.
Okay, I do understand that. I mean, I don't think the whole premise of I'm supposed to be speaking last, but I'm speaking first, is an auxiliary residential unit is for family and to grow, not for a rental unit to income. So I'm not sure, but I should be speaking last. Go ahead, Councillor Graver.
Yeah, through you, Mayor, I agree with what you're saying. I think it's important that we, the spirit of the ARUs is to provide more housing for non-commercial purposes. So I would support being amended or whatever process.
Councillor Franzen, go ahead.
I have a bit of a question. Through you, Mayor. If we have a property that has the ARU, that property subsequently gets sold, and somebody wants to use that ARU as a granny flat or accommodation for one of their children, how do they remove that? And does that eliminate them, the future purchasers, from using that as a short-term rental?
I think that's what we're talking about, is we don't want the ARU ever used for a short-term rental.
So
Go ahead, Chris.
I can just,
Yep.
this is why I feel that on the licensing side, if somebody builds a legitimate ARU, that obviously there's a record of a building permit. And so if the licensing regulations clearly spell out that the issuance of a building permit and or construction of an ARU on an otherwise eligible lot would basically make it ineligible or uneligible for registration or licensing as an ARU. Like, I just think it would be very clear. If it's not eligible, then to me, that would dissuade people from in the future acquiring properties with an existing ARU with a view of utilizing it, at least utilizing it legally. But anyway, I just I can within the context of this section, I can add an item I after H and something to the effect that essentially the intent of the policy is to accommodate housing and diversity in housing and not to accommodate short-term rentals, something as straightforward as that. So yeah, with council's indulgence, if you can just give us another cycle here to bring this back, we're getting very close with it.
Yeah, I think that's prudent. Go ahead, Councillor Cadigan.
I have a question through you, Mayor, for Chris. Can an ARU have a separate title? Can two different owners be on the same property?
No. So title is to the land. It's not to the buildings. So if it were a condominium, maybe that's different, but no. Under title registration, your ownership is to the land. Now, can you have, which we do, can you have corporations or partnerships or joint tenancy? Yeah, but at the end of the day, it's those owners which own the property itself.
In the interest of me making a 4:30 meeting, I think we've got our idea that we're probably going to defer decision on 14.5 and 14.6 until a further date, which will give staff time to modify that so that we don't include short-term rentals as ARUs. Would anyone be prepared to make that? Go ahead, Councillor. Go ahead.
Quick comment.
Yes,
10-second comment.
We should make a motion and we'll get a second.
Okay. Yes.
Second the motion.
Second the motion. Okay, we have Councillor Brabert for a mover and we have Deputy Mayor Armstrong for a seconder. Quick comment.
Quick comment. Chris, when you mentioned, I'm just concerned about the language that you're going to be putting in as far as identifying that ARUs should not be used. You mentioned should not be used as short-term rentals. Is there a bit more binding language, shall, as opposed to should?
Sure.
Okay.
In fact, I have the draft language. It is not the intent of this policy to permit or facilitate the development of additional dwelling units for short-term rental purposes. That's what I'm envisioning.
Thank you.
Okay. We've had comments. We've got a mover and a seconder. I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. Thank you very much, Chris. Okay, we move on to 14.7 of our agenda. I don't know why I'm rushing because we're not going to make it in. Just to stop up and close and sell road allowance. Who's ours? 14, go ahead.
Move to approve.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Franzen for a seconder. Any further conversation about the road allowance? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. Now, we can move on to item 15 of our agenda, I think, which is announcements. Does anybody have an announcement? I'm seeing Donna Tager.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I can tell you the 42 building permits I have found out are all waiting for the applicant information, not staff.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Awesome. Very nice. Okay, any other announcements? That was a good announcement. I'm seeing none. We can move on to item 16 of our agenda, which is our closed meeting. I would entertain a motion to go into closed. Councillor Cadigan for a mover. Deputy Mayor Armstrong for a seconder. And now, before I call for the vote, we are going into closed under the authority of the Ontario Municipal Act, Section 239(2), to discuss B, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, municipal employees. C, a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, lease negotiations. D, labor relations or employee negotiations, municipal employees. E, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board litigation. F, advice that is subject to solicitor client privileges, including communications necessary for that purpose, litigation. And K, a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried out or to be carried out on or on behalf of the municipality or local board lease negotiations. That is the reasons we are going into closed. I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion is carried. We are in closed. We can now move on to item 16.2 of the agenda, which is rising from closed. I would entertain a motion for same. Deputy Mayor Armstrong and a seconder of Councillor Braybrook. I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. Now we can move on to item 17 of our agenda, which is business arising from the closed meeting. Item 17.1 is the adoption of the minutes from July 15th, 2025, special closed meeting. Would anyone like to make a motion to adopt? Councillor Cadigan for a mover. Councillor Franzen for a seconder. I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. We can move on to item 18 of our agenda, which is the adoption of the confirming bylaw. And item 18.1 is the confirming bylaw. I would entertain a motion to adopt that. Deputy Mayor Armstrong for a mover, Councillor Braybrook for a seconder. I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion is carried. And we can move on to item 19 of our agenda, which is adjournment. Would anyone like to make a motion to adjourn? Councillor Franzen for a mover, Councillor Cadigan for a seconder. I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. We are adjourned. Thank you very much, staff. Thank you very much, council. Thank you very much for everyone that was in the gallery.